What's going on, y'all? Hope everybody is well. Welcome back to the Onyx Report. All right, we are getting it together. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, been off. Been a little bit of a hiatus of sorts. Still doing work. For those of you who have been following my channel, you know that the daily videos are still going. But just getting some things together. Spinning a lot of different plates. Just trying to make sure that more than anything, we stay on top. So anyway, hope everybody's well. We are broadcasting tonight on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on innerlightradio.com, which is every first and third Wednesday of the month. So you can catch me at any of those locations right now. I also converted a lot of my back shows to podcasts on iTunes. So you can catch the Onyx Report with Dr. T. Hasan Johnson there as well, as far as the podcast. And of course, on YouTube, you can find my daily videos as well as my weekly live shows like we have tonight. So I think we're going to have some interesting discussion tonight. I got some good brothers coming through, and I think we're going to enjoy this. In the meantime, I want to shout out those who are commenting, who are already in the house. What's up, Supreme? What's going on, Black Knight, Barry, Mr. Heat? Hope everybody is well. All right. Let me, as usual, though, before we jump into anything else, I do want to make sure that I shout out my supporters. It's just my computer's going through a little something different, my OBS really. So hopefully we'll be able to get it together. But anyway, in the meantime, let's go ahead and show some love to my subscribers. You can subscribe in a number of ways I'll talk about in a moment. For those that currently are, I just want to shout you out and give some respect and show some appreciation for your consideration and support. So here we go. All right. Welcome back. Yeah, so much appreciation, to the supporters. I don't think I'd be able to do very much without them. So, but as you can see, we are growing. The channel is still moving. And all in all, I have to say that has a lot to do with the love that people have been putting forth. All right. Y'all know what it is tonight. We're going to be getting into it soon. Have Black men and women grown too far apart? There are already people in the comment section that are chiming in. So, there'll be a lot here to discuss. And I will likely call a few people up to discuss even further. However, in the meantime, I do want to just make sure we are clear. Welcome to the Onyx Report, especially if you've never watched the live show before. This is where we as Black male justice advocates uplift Black men and boys using critical analysis, right? So I want to be clear about what this channel is about. It is primarily using Black male studies as a method for analyzing Black men and boys outside of stereotype and conjecture, right? Straight up. That said, as I said before, you can support the channel in a number of different ways. You can become a member. You can go to YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, but you can also join. And the membership has a number of different levels to it, from gold all the way up to Black Opal. Each has a specific set of perks. So check that out, become a member. And of course, you can also go to Patreon and support there. The links are in the description for all of that. All right, Prophet Thought, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Yeah. So you can go to Patreon as well and click the link, go there and support the channel. You can also support the Institute for Black Male Studies through Patreon as well, or just give a straight donation. Either way works. What's up, Tajay? What's up, Miss Carletta? Good to see you. Yusef, what's happening? D-Hive, we got a number of people in here. Hope everybody's well. Malika, what's going on, man? Good to see you. See Prince Yasha, what's up? Black Rock, all right. Barry, High Scholar, Essential Entities. Welcome to the Brotherhood, Essential. You recently joined. Stylist, my boy, what's going on? Joe Average, what's happening? Quanos, I may be mispronouncing that. It's probably Quanos, though. I'm seeing that Thanos symbol. Pet Way, what's going on, people? All right, so let's get into a few things. One of the things that I do in the Onyx Report is I try to make sure that we acknowledge Black men in ways that they are often overlooked, right? And that is most particularly in regard to accomplishments. You know, in many ways, the only time we tend to see Black men is when they're dead, dying, or doing something that is being framed as stereotypical, right? And often the accomplishments tend to go overlooked. And then, of course, you have a caller on another show called a form of necrocapitalism that takes place with Black males, where our deaths create opportunities, resources, and food for everyone else but Black men themselves. And that includes policy, right? But we, alongside, critically breaking down those kind of things, we also like to shout Black men out because we celebrate Black men over here. And one way we do that is with the, I appreciate that, Essential. One way we do that over here is by shouting out accomplishments, right? And so that being said, let's get started. Some of you may have seen this young brother here. And this is from an article on blacknews.com. It's entitled Black Male Educator from DC Surprised with Teacher of the Year Award and $50,000 check. Yeah, straight up. Now, I may mispronounce this brother's name. I do apologize if I do, but it reads, since 2015, DS Granados has been teaching students and making close connections with them. They just inspire me and keep me going every single day, Alex, who currently teaches 4th and 5th grade English and social studies, said about his students. Just last year, he won the $10,000 Sanford Teacher Award. He was also named DC's 2021 Teacher of the Year, which comes with a cash prize of $7,500. During his appearance on the show, Alex shared his advocacy to provide better digital access to students, especially during the pandemic. He turned emotional when Barrymore surprised him with 265 laptop computers for teachers and students at his school. And that's a significant issue. That's a significant issue because one of the things I notice right now, because I'm still teaching, it's the semester, it's almost toward the end of the semester, got a couple weeks left. More often than not, I notice my Black students are using their phones while at work to try and engage in class, right? Gemini, I appreciate that support. They're actually trying to attend class using their phone while at work, and I'm watching them work while they have me on mute and they're trying to engage the class, whereas many of my other students are sitting at home with a stable computer. So that's a big deal. That digital divide thing we used to talk about in the Bay Area in the early 90s is still real. Anyway, it reads further. Most recently, he was again on national TV as a surprise announcement was made by Dr. Michael Cunningham, Chancellor of the National University System, on the Drew Barrymore Show, that he was selected as the National University 2021 Teacher of the Year. Alejandro will also receive a check for $50,000 and is eligible for a full scholarship for a master's degree program in social and emotional learning from National University, or a doctoral degree in education from all universities in the National University System. So shout out to Alejandro Diaz Granados. I guess they call him Alex. Shout out to him. That's what's up. You can definitely see the impact of that. All right. Next. All right, Prince Yasher, appreciate that. Next up, you can find this on ktvu.com. Oakland Technical High Senior to be school's first Black male valedictorian. Right, you see him right there. Now this one, I actually wanted to read the entire article. It's that good, and I wanted to shout him out. So this is a young brother in Oakland, and his name is Ahmed Muhammad. He's 18 years old. He graduates from Oakland Tech High School next month. He'll make history by becoming the school's first Black male to be named valedictorian. Muhammad will be recognized with the distinction of having the highest academic rank in his class, finished his 4 years at Tech with a cumulative 4.73 grade point average, on track for a 5.0 for his senior year. In addition, he received a score of 1540 with a perfect 800 in the math section and a 740 in the evidence-based reading and writing section. On top of all that, he will leave his mark as a standout athlete who was an integral member of the Bulldogs varsity basketball team. Right? These accomplishments certainly were not lost on the 11 universities he applied to, including Harvard, Princeton, Berkeley, Stanford, which have all offered him a spot in their student body. It feels amazing, he says. I'm grateful to be accepted to any single college, but 11 of them, I had never imagined this, Muhammad says. All right. The list of academic achievements by this remarkable student is long, but he said his greatest sense of pride came from the work he's done outside of the classroom. He says, I'm most proud of the impact that Kits Cubed has had on our community's youth. The teen founded a science education company, Kits Cubed, which he started out of his garage a year ago, shortly after the pandemic began. The company offered fun, affordable science kits made up of many simple and basic materials like rock candy and potato batteries, giving elementary and middle school age kids hands-on and easy access to science material and experiments. Muhammad said Kits Cube sought to bridge a divide brought on by a culture that underestimates the skills and knowledge of many young students in minority communities in the fields of math and science. Appreciate that, Rick. Since starting the company as a little backyard project, it has grown to include the work Muhammad was doing and reached out to the team to offer his support. To date, thousands of kits have been distributed to schools around Oakland and beyond. Founding Kits Cubed was the culmination of all the valuable lessons I learned throughout high school from so many amazing people, and I'm glad we were able to create something meaningful before graduating. Developing the company has been deeply meaningful to the team because a big motivation behind his hard work has been to make an impact on young people in his community and serve as a role model. To that end, he has also spent much of his high school year volunteering as a tutor and a mentor to grade school and middle school age kids who have also become a great source of pride to him. For Muhammad, it's about paying it forward, as he has benefited from mentors and role models in his life who have helped create pathways to success. Those role models included Oakland Tech alumnus Akintunde Ahmad, who went to Yale with a 5.0 GPA. KTVU featured Ahmad in a story in 2018. And he says from there, the person Muhammad identified as his greatest role model was his father, who, along with his mother, worked hard to offer their children every opportunity to reach success. His parents themselves did not attend university, so their son is poised to be the first generation college student. Muhammad's mother immigrated from Cambodia and together with his dad began a real estate business, living out of the example of what it meant to find their passions and to work hard. He was also a fire captain who spent 30 years with the Oakland Fire Department. Right. So I really just wanted to shout out this young brother because he's doing really well. And we just need to acknowledge that. So shout out to young Mr. Muhammad for knocking that out. All right. And we have another. I love these. Why Miami Heat guard Kendrick Nunn is helping single fathers. This you can find in theundefeated.com. And the title is As I Read. Barry, appreciate that support. Kashif, appreciate the Cash App. Extended clips, much appreciation. So it reads, raised by a single black father in Chicago, the second-year pro understands the importance of his dad's presence. Real talk, right? Many things come to Kendrick Nunn's mind when he hears the stereotypes that African-American men are often absent fathers. The Miami Heat guard has the perspective of someone who was raised by a single father in Chicago and currently has full custody of his own young son. When I hear things like that, I honestly just think they haven't been exposed to the good Black fathers out there that are actually taking care of business, taking care of responsibilities and children. There are single Black fathers out there like that. And actually, the first thing that comes to mind is my dad. He says there are single fathers out there that's doing good things. None recently partnered with the National Basketball Players Association to give a grant to the Dovetail Project, a nonprofit that helps men in the Chicago area who are single parents. None donated $5,000 to the organization, which the NBPA matched and serves as a mentor for other single fathers. None and his oldest sister, Kendall, were raised by their father, Melvin, who eventually split up with their mother, Kimberly. None said his mother, who is now back in his life, dealt with depression, which led to his father taking full custody of both kids. Melvin raised his children while working full-time as a delivery truck driver in Chicago. He said he had help from his family and Harris's family, but was primarily on his own. He recalls often hearing a common word when someone learned he was a single parent. Wow. That was the common word he heard most often. I can attest to that. Usually people are surprised. You know, it's nothing like inviting people over your house and the first thing they do is look around and ask where exactly your woman is. And they assume you have one because of how your house looks or how well mannered your child is, as if fathers haven't been fathering for anyway. So it further reads, when I became a single parent, I didn't bow my head or panic, Melvin said. He's 53. He said, I just knew what it took to raise two kids because I saw my parents raise me. You have to have things planned on how you want your kids raised and how you want them to become. So I put them in situations where I could succeed with a little help from my family and their side of the family. I took everyone's advice, got a little help along the way. With myself being a strong Black man and knowing what I had to do to raise my kids in my household, it was a no-brainer. You got to work, you help your kids with homework, you talk to them, you extracurricular them. I was blessed to be able to do that with one income. The Nunn family had stability and lived in the same home for most of the kids' childhood in the predominantly Black Chicago suburb of Calumet City. They often bonded over basketball. Nunn fondly recalls his father making time for him and his sisters after work. Nunn said it had come full circle for him as he now has full custody of his son. And when he's on the road with the heat, his father actually flies to Miami to take care of his 4-year-old son, Kyron. Next month, Nunn plans to spend time with members of the Dovetail Project in a Zoom chat. He says he also plans on being more involved in the organization once the pandemic is over. Dovetail Project founder Shelvin Smith is proud to have a hometown hero involved. Smith, who became a first-time father at age 21 in 2009, was inspired by his daughter to found the Dovetail Project in Chicago in hopes of supporting fellow young Black and brown fathers between 17 and 24 years old. The word dovetail means to join together, and it is his hope to see fathers and their children together straight up. So shout out to those brothers for knocking that out, most particularly to Nunn, who is definitely following in his father's footsteps. So that is definitely something I am happy to see. What's up, MLR? It's me, C. What's going on? Prada, Black Rock, BK Bourne. What's going on? Hope everybody's well. Let's see here. Let's see. Officer Faulkner. What's the word? Okay. All right. So let us continue if we can. All right. Oh, that's weird. All right. Don't know why I went there. All right. Appreciate the support, officer. Good to see you. Artisan, what's happening? All right. In terms of special shout outs, y'all already know this, but I haven't had a show since it happened. So I wanted to at least acknowledge it. Many of us have already heard about Black Rob, artist formerly on the Bad Boy label, died at age 51, only a few days after we lost DMX. Different circumstances, but definitely a trying situation. One piece I found was on dailymail.co.uk, and they talked about it there, and they talked about him passing in an Atlanta hospital Saturday, April 17th. It says the New York City native who was once a part of P. Diddy's Bad Boys has been suffering through declining health over the past 5 years, including kidney failure and 4 strokes. It's also come to my attention that this brother's been in and out of institutions since he was about 12 and has in the last 5 years been grappling with homelessness. So to a lot of brothers who are going through something similar, sorry about that. Keep your head up, as you deal with these situations. I know times are getting tough, but we definitely need brothers to stay alive and keep it pushing. So that's definitely one of the things that I try to get across to brothers, because I have people reach out and tell me about, being on the verge of suicide, being on the verge of wanting to call it quits. And the one thing I can only reiterate over and over again is that as long as you stay alive, all things will change around, for real. Just give it time, right? But in terms of Black Rob, shout out to him. I wish his family well. And we got another one down, way too young. I mean, it's at the point for Black males where being over 50 is considered, senior, extreme senior citizen. Like, man, brothers dying in their 50s like it's normal. This has got to stop, and the life expectancy, for as far as across men and women, across race, Black men generally tend to find themselves at the absolute bottom of that list over and over again. So this is definitely something we got to bring more attention to, because people seem to think that Black male issues just constitute one small area engaging the police. But if you engage in Black male studies, you find these issues go way beyond just one area of life, right? So shout out to Black Rob, straight up, right? Now this one is a little different. I'm going to keep this short. It's just a little public service announcement. Something I ran across that I just kind of wanted to give you a little heads up about. There's been some chatter back and forth on my Facebook page about this one, but this is a piece out of the dailybeast.com, right? And the title is Top Oath Keeper. Appreciate the support, Romello. Thank you. It reads, Top Oath Keeper says active duty cops are training militia members for civil war. All right. All right. And so it says the far right paramilitary group, the Oath Keepers, is home to active duty law enforcement officers who are training up other members to prepare for civil war. According to one of the group's top figures, CBS News' 60 Minutes profiled the increasingly notorious militia on Sunday night. And one of its leaders from Arizona, Jim Arroyo, spoke openly about the close involvement of police officers. Our guys are very experienced, he says. We have active duty law enforcement in our organization that are helping to train us. We can blend in with our law enforcement. And in fact, in a lot of cases, our training is much more advanced because of our military backgrounds. Arroyo's statement was backed up by Javed Ali, I may be mispronouncing that, an ex-National Security Council senior director and FBI counterterrorism official, who said the Oath Keepers are unique and challenging. They are a threat to the U.S. because a large percentage have tactical training and operational experience in either the military or law enforcement. That at least gives them a capability that a lot of other people in this far-right space don't have. Dozens of members have been implicated in the storming of the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection in Washington. Oh. And I'm just, really just trying to let brothers know, most particularly, stay on guard, keep your head on a swivel, make sure you are not surprised by any of this mess. But it can get real. It is getting real. And I hope, how do I put this? I hope you are prepared. We definitely could stand more organization. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, both on an individual level and on a collective level, I want y'all to be prepared. We saw on January 6th how far this can go, and it's been going. But it looks like it's ramped to increase. So, as I said, I definitely want us to be more prepared. I hear you, BGS, but you keep saying that, man. I keep trying to get you to break it down, man. You won't do it. So you got to break it down, man. Let me see. And MLR, I agree. It's not so much about surprise. It's just keep it in the forefront of your mind. That's really all I'm trying to do at this point. So that said, let me go ahead and bring in some of my guests. Let's see. I'm trying. Let me see. So we got one here so far, and I got two more coming. And let me go ahead and bring up one. What's going on, Gigi?
What's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Man, staying safe, man. Trying to.
That's what's up. We're waiting for a couple more people to come on through here. And what we're going to do tonight is there was an interview that took place very recently, last Friday night, actually, on Kevin Samuels' show. And I want us to actually talk about it. I'm going to actually play through it. We'll stop and reflect at different points. And I want to definitely get the opinion of a couple of people about this as we go, because I definitely want some feedback. So as I said, there's a couple more people that are going to come in, but right now we have my brother, the Green Gorilla, up here. If you're not familiar, and I'm sure you are, you can find his channel here on YouTube. Just look up Green Gorilla and you will see that symbol right there. And you can support the channel. The brother's been doing some fabulous work. We also have my good brother BGS. What's up, man?
What's up, good doctor? Dr. Truth?
How you doing, man? What's up?
I was just telling BGS what's going on.
Hey, GG, what's happening, man?
Man, staying out of trouble.
Oh, man, in Texas, that's hard, man.
Stay out of people's way. That's what I'm doing.
I heard that, man. Hope you're doing good, man. Good to see you, back on the scene, man. Hope you keep doing your dailies.
Oh yeah, the only thing, my OBS has been like running high CPU usage for some reason, and I got to figure out what the source of it is. I admit I haven't been.
They might have changed the code, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, I got to do something to get it. The low CPU usage is critical for using that program while you're doing live streaming. So I'm working.
Yeah. Doc just ran into that problem like a month ago.
Indeed. All right. Like I said, I think we got one more. He said he was coming through, but we'll wait. Or we'll continue, and if he'll pop in, I'll introduce him then. But I think we'll be able to do some damage with the three of us up here, and I'm going to bring in probably a few more people a little bit later to comment. But I'm going to go ahead and play the interview. So let me bring it up here. Bear with me for a moment. Appreciate that, Amazi. Let's see. Okay. I should have prepped this folder before, but wasn't thinking about it. Oh, ow. All right. So here we go. All right. So, for those that don't know, this is Kevin Samuels. Recently in the last year, he's been on YouTube for a while now, though, but in the last year, he's really boomed. He's over 715,000 subscribers, and he is very quickly pushing his way toward 1 million. I think with the momentum he's got, it's more than likely going to happen. Now, actually, let me preface this a little bit before we jump in there. So bear with me as I kind of get this going up here. I want you to see kind of what it is. So this is from a video from Friday night. It's entitled "Black Women Are Still Out of Order," says Ayanna Van Zant. And you can find this, of course, right here on YouTube. This was just a few days ago, and it is close to 500,000 views already. And as much as I watch Kevin and I appreciate his content, there were some interviews in this particular episode that went much further in a certain kind of way. And so there were 3 altogether. There are 2 I'm going to actually show. One I'm going to show the entirety of, and one just a piece. There we go. We got Dr. Ronald Neal in here. What's up, man?
Hey, the gang's out here.
What's going on?
Coming to dinner. What's happening?
we waiting on you.
Yeah, I heard that. Look who's coming to dinner. I ain't heard that one in a long time.
We are in the house. BGS, what's going on, baby?
Hey, Dr. Neal, what's happening, man?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. You still getting them off your page, man. I see.
I'm right here, GG. Where GG at?
I'm right here, man. I'm just muting every now and then so I can take
what's going on, baby?
Choke off my vape stick. What's going on?
Y'all know I love y'all.
I like that, brother. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna play this clip and we'll just kind of feel it out. So let me add it back to the stream. There we go. So let me see.
Anyway.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. What's your disagreement?
So my disagreement is that Black women's behavior is not put into context. So there's the acting out, but it lacks context. I feel like it's misguided self-expression. And it's a problem, but it is something that when you remove the experiences that we have.
Hold on.
Okay.
Then why can Black women act right at work?
That's fair. But I will say this.
No. You didn't answer. You just said it's fair. Why can they do that?
Okay. Code switching. W.E. Du Bois. It's something that we're able to do in different circumstances.
Not code switching.
Okay. Now, so for those that don't know, Kevin is interviewing a therapist. He actually interviewed another one today, and he shot me a message to tell me about it because he was like, these are bookend interviews at this point. But this is a therapist who called into his show to defend Black women's behavior in a particular kind of way. So you can see they're already starting from that vantage point. And one of the first things out the gate, he says that there are moments where Black women don't seem to have a problem maintaining a certain behavioral standard, and her response is code switching. Fellas, any response to that?
Man, the first response is, be leery of the therapy industry.
Yeah.
If you're a Black man to begin with, because a lot of these therapy sessions were orientated towards women, and where women can express their feelings and their thoughts and their ideas, and they get validated in those kind of spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially with what's been going on in the academy for the past, 50, 60 years, I would be leery about your involvement in therapy sessions. That's just my opinion. Okay.
That's real talk. I mean, years ago, I went, my wife and I did marriage counseling. And one of the things I noticed is that it's the field is fraught with female counselors. And it's actually, you got to make an effort in many ways to find a male counselor, or particularly a Black male counselor.
Almost impossible. It's almost impossible to find a Black male therapist.
I've gone through therapy, relationship therapy, with a white male and a Black male. So they're out there. They're few and far in between. And for the most part, like the women who drag you to these sessions, for the most part, they want to get validation from the therapist to browbeat you in a lot of instances, to demonstrate how incorrect and how improper and how pathological your behavior is.
Yeah, she brings you there so that the therapist can help her fix you.
Yeah,
well, and that's an interesting point, because if you listen to the second interview today with another therapist, one of the things I noticed is he asked her, "Are you in therapy?" And she said yes, but of course, who do you think was providing her therapy? It was another Black woman, right? So it's an interesting kind of moment here where you're getting to see that this industry plays a role in this. But I'll continue. Here we go.
Can I say something?
Please jump in.
Please do.
Yeah. So here's the thing: we have to deal with the fallacy of the social sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that the fallacy that the social sciences, sociology, and psychology, and every other social science assumes that there is some type of impartiality that's there. The idea that we do not bring moral values, ideas to this enterprise. Okay. that our personal experiences, lived and whatsoever, are somehow or another jettisoned, that they are bracketed and what have you. This has been a long discourse in terms of the philosophy of the social sciences, that there is no, you can look at philosophers, Paul Ricoeur, you can look at phenomenology. I've studied this for most of my adult life. This basic fundamental fallacy that somehow or another, that you can have a neutral, morally neutral understanding of psychology, a morally neutral understanding of sociology or the social sciences. And when we look at this type of enterprise, we have to bring that into bear, that the social scientist, the person, they can be influenced by Catholicism, they can be influenced by Protestantism, they can be influenced by Islam, they can be influenced by anything, they can be influenced by all sorts of things, that there is no such thing as a neutral, objective enterprise when it comes down to evaluating human beings.
But you know, what I would add to that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, I would add that one of the things we tend to find with you know, these counselors, and they're male and female, where you have this, but overwhelmingly with female, is the influence of feminism. The influence of feminism, especially as it pertains to prioritizing women, their worldview, and their feelings over the circumstances that a couple or an individual may be dealing with. So I just want to add that, but I'm in complete agreement with Dr. Neal. So let's continue. Here we go.
That's not code.
Okay.
Because there's a consequence. They act that way at work, they lose their job, they lose their money. True or false?
That's true. Can't argue with that.
So don't tell me about context. If you can control it at work, that means you can control it elsewhere.
Facts.
True or false?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, the only variable is true. How much you respect your situations. See, what you just proven, that Black women can respect their environment, work environment, their paycheck, but they don't have that same level of respect when dealing with a Black man.
So here's what I'd like to say. The sister who came on earlier, I wanted to.
But let's acknowledge that that's true. But before you do that, let's acknowledge that that's accurate.
Yes.
Or disagree. Which one is it? Is it accurate or you disagree?
Come on, baby.
Okay, so it is accurate, but again, there's context.
But yeah,
the context.
Like
millennial, but
you got more respect for your job than you do the average Black man.
Now, and fellas, y'all can tell me if you want to stop something. If you definitely
that's the old-fashioned millennial butt. Okay, millennials, especially millennials, are horrible at that. Man, it's always a butt. Yes, but. Okay. Yes, but. Yeah.
The conjunction.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in my opinion, man, this all has to do with consequences and accountability. I mean, if it's the case that, you know, you have to be accountable to the people that you work with, your bosses, or whatever the case may be, you keep a certain demeanor about you.
Right.
When it comes to the home, you know that there's no consequences, and then you always know that all you got to do is call a white man, and he'll be there to save the day, and he'll be there to put you in your place. I mean, like, we can talk all around and dance around the issue, but the reality is they act out like that because they know they can use proxy power in order to establish their will over you, and they know that you know. Reality is they act. You're a hunted dog in this culture, man. You know, it just is what it is, and so they already know what kind of role you play in the society in which you live. And so they'll use that against you when they get upset. They'll just put you in your place because they know what place you're relegated to in this society.
Yeah, because Mama and Mama basically shut her doggone mouth because she knew that her survival depended on her man getting his butt up and working them 12 hours a day. Okay, and she knew it, so she'd fuss a little bit, but at a certain time you give her that look, she shut the hell up because she knew there was consequences. Okay, and those consequences were removed. Go ahead.
So look, I'm not to disrespect the woman in the chat named Carletta, but see, the consequences for women related to relationships is they can just dispatch and dispose of you and then go get another man.
Yeah.
So that's not really a consequence, okay?
No.
And then again, as you said, BGS, back in the day, you know, if you didn't have a man around, you know, you probably didn't eat and didn't have the same level of material comfort that you would have in a society like this one, which is
we're gonna get there.
but the reality is, as far as I'm concerned, you know, there's no consequences. Like women can slap, punch, kick, bite, do a whole bunch of crazy stuff, curse you out, you know, like lose all control. Okay, they can act like children, like toddlers, and then there'll be no consequences for it. And that's the issue that black men have, and it puts us between a rock and a hard place. You can go ahead, man.
On that, yeah, absolutely. And some of my recent daily videos, there's been 2 in the last month where women have run over their boyfriends and significant others with cars. Very few consequences. Harambe, No One, and Nelso, appreciate that support. All right, here we go.
That's the context. We understand it. You don't have any respect. You know how to act when you respect somebody. When something's on the line, when there's a consequence. But there's nothing on the line with a black man because most black women have lack of respect for black men. So you can talk any kind of way. That's the context.
Okay. When you say it like that, you know, I feel like you're boiling it down in a real simplistic way.
Yeah, because it's very
in the work environment.
Because it's very simple. Because it's very simple. Black women know how to act. Always have. It's just you have gotten to the point to where you don't give a shit about what your reflection cares about. So because you don't have to respect it. You don't. There's no consequence when you deal with a black man.
Dr. J.
Yeah.
Can I stop right here? I'm sorry, man. I have to say this. So we have to look at the larger society, right?
Okay.
So when it comes down to capitalism, when it comes down to working, when she's working in the corporate environment, when she is working as a professional in a capacity, she knows how to be neutral. She knows how to suspend her biases or what have you when it comes down to white men in particular, who have authority over her. She knows how to suspend her biases when it comes down to white women and what have you. But when it comes down to the black male, the black father, the black husband, ad infinitum, the black male in the household, there is no suspension of her own prejudices or biases whatsoever. Okay, and so what she is doing in this particular moment right here is pretending as though she has, again, as I said, this type of moral value neutrality when it comes down to black men, and it is false, it is fraudulent, it is based with bias.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see what else takes place.
Go back 3 calls when this woman's just complaining about smiling at a black man.
Right.
So I'm boiling it down, make it simplistic. Go ahead, tell us why it's such. Let me say something too before you do this. Remember when I said everything's variable, guys? Everything's variable, is always subjective. The counter to that is either subjective or variable, or it's extremely complex. It's differential equations. It's calculating in 4 space. And if we were more intelligent, we could understand the complexities. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to respond to that, sister. When I've had that experience as well at different points in my life where black men are like, hey, you should smile, miss. And when I think about it, sometimes you are just in deep thought, and truly, and with the context, the other women in other races, maybe they don't have to tell them to do that because they're not carrying the grief that we're carrying around. Like, we're mourning for our brothers in the community, like legit.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta stop there. You gotta stop there. Right you gotta stop there right there.
Yeah,
stop right there.
Yeah.
So like she just laid a big guilt trip down on Kevin Samuels and all black men for that matter. It's like they feel this overwhelming sense of pain. But I mean, if you look at the actions that black women have just been performing within the last 6 months, and in response to people who are doing things that are absolutely unconscionable in relation to our death, or deaths, by state officials or, municipal officials, police officers, whatever the case may be. You can see an open disregard for our feelings, our pain, but it's been enculturated in these people
right
for the past 60 years, because this wasn't the mentality of a Black woman in the early 60s, the late 50s. It just wasn't the mentality. And now there's this callousness, almost, an open disdain, like Dr. Neal was talking about Black men. So they've been able to vicariously participate, I feel, in the Black nigger problem. And Tommy Curry talks about this in his work. I mean, they just basically interpolated the pathology of Black men and dysfunctionality, the subculture of violence theory. They went with that and ran with it. So now it's okay for them to get close to or approximate to whiteness by means of stigmatizing us even further and putting us in our place. And they know that the state will enable them to do this because there's a prime objective in this kind of, racially stratified society to do that. So to this,
and you're right. But let me just pose a basic question. If for some reason, Jesse, appreciate that support. If for some reason you're extremely worried about the homeless, you stress on how many homeless people you are, does it make sense that you're going to cuss out the first homeless person you run across? Does that make sense? I mean, if you're going to, oh, wow. Appreciate the support, Jesse Ann M. Brown. It doesn't make sense. If that's her rationale, if we're going to make this argument that somehow the stress of worrying about Black men is causing all of that, then the sheer, disdain that Black men talk about on a regular basis.
Man, look here, bro.
Makes no sense.
Let me tell you something, man. I had a Black mother, loved her to death, you know what I'm saying, the whole nine. But, it's like one day I got hit by a car. She whipped me after I got hit by a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, you can't beat up somebody because you're scared that they're going to leave or whatever the case may be. But I think that's just disingenuous to begin with,
Right.
I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely. In this culture, in this society, man, there's acts of genocide being committed against Black men slowly. It's a slow grind, okay? It's always been a slow grind. But, to have these women vicariously feeling power associated with that by means of this new, identity politics, man, it's just, man, it's frustrating to deal with. And it's frustrating to have to play through, like Kevin Samuel called it, solving differential equations and calculus. But, to me, it's like mental gymnastics.
Exactly.
Gaslighting really is.
Exactly.
And let me add this. So the broader perspective, and I had a conversation with a mentor of mine earlier today, is the idea that these women have approximated whiteness. They have approximated white femininity. And so when we talk about a calculus, when we talk about a metrics, when we talk about the way in which Black men are evaluated, it is through a white woman, a white Anglo-Saxon woman lens, who has regarded Black men primarily as savages and primitives. It's a bourgeois, upper middle class orientation, disposition. We have to realize that these are women who have benefited from history. These are women who are looking at Black men through the same lens that white women have seen Black men historically in the United States. It's no different from what the white feminists did, the white suffragists did in the 19th century. That is what we are dealing with in terms of how she is assessing Black men.
And if anybody's interested for more information on that, there's a recent webinar I did on the Institute for Black Male Studies website where I talked about the 10 policies that broke up the Black family. And you can see more in depth how these policies in turn shape behavior over time. Anyone else want to chime in before I go back to the video?
Yeah, it's just interesting that she excuses Black women's abuse of Black men on the suffering of Black men. That's just funny because we're actually mourning for our brothers, so we don't want to smile or give them proper treatment. That was hilarious. That's how come we got upset.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Here we go.
No, ma'am, no. You're mourning. You cause black men more grief than LAPD, system of white supremacy, or any of this other shit. Mourn your brothers for what you do to us, not the system. Sorry, man, but I've heard that too much. And y'all get up on this high horse like before we got to deal with the system of white supremacy, we got to deal with what lays beside us.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I just feel like there is a level of deep concentration that sometimes we're in that impacts. I mean, it just does. It disproportionately impacts our community. So we do have more things on our mind than the women of other races. We can't have that levity that they may have at times. You know, I would love to, you know, step into that all the time, but there's sometimes it's, you know, you have a lot on your mind.
Shout out to Crystal Cares.
Let's say
stop it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Crystal Cares because she says it all the time. Black women can't actually rest in their femininity because of the oppression that not only of white supremacy but also of black sexism. And because black men aren't up to snuff, aren't building a white world as they would like it, as they see it, the upper class white world, then a black woman can't be feminine. But the thing is, I always counter that. I said I've been in Guatemala where the whole family of 5 was living in a tin shack with no doors, right? Mm-hmm. And guess what? Those women respected and were feminine. So how come in the richest country in the world that black women can't be feminine? Makes no sense. Well, that's that old trope that we have too much on our minds. We got too much pressure on us, so we can't be feminine. We can't be pleasant.
Well, you know, like a few months ago, you know, I read an article from Robert Staples about the myth of the Black matriarchy, right? I think that was the title of the article. I don't know if Dr. Neal sent it to me or you sent it to me, but you know, I read it for the audience, and one of the things that was said in the article by Staples was that, you know, from the inception of slavery, women were basically apportioned the head of the household, the duty of the head of the household.
Yes, by law.
And so, you know, from there, I mean, you know, subsequently, generation after generation after generation, you have a group of women who, you know, they know what their power is, associated with the men that they are a member of the same race with. You know, it just is what it is. And so they use the power that they have at their disposal to get what they want. Yeah. And they can talk to us like we're slaves on the street. I mean, they see everybody else treat us like dirt. So why not them treat us like dirt? And they've been, you know, pretty much spared, you know, the bulk of racial animus. I mean, this goes all the way back from flogging and whipping during slavery, all the way up to Jim Crow and lynching, to mass incarceration now.
Yeah, or even to the welfare state, and then black women getting hired on a regular basis, you know, into the white collar world more than black men are, being more educated. Okay, I just read a portion of the book. In fact, I think I sent you a copy of it, Gigi, from Julia Hare, talk about the crisis in black sexual politics, right? And there's a section, I think it was on page 82, where they talk about the myths of the myths that black women have about black men. And in one portion, she was saying that black women are actually more powerful than black men. And the reasons that they believe this myth is because black women have always been the liaison between black men and the white world, especially in during Jim Crow, right? If the white master if the white landowner got pissed off at the husband, okay, it would be a fight if he went to her. So mama had to go to her. Mama had to go beg for her son's life. Mama had to deal with the bill collectors. Mama had to, you know, deal in the stores, because a lot of times they wouldn't allow you in the store. But if you came with your wife, guess what happened? Okay. Yeah. She could talk to them where you couldn't. because she's been in her household. She might have been the maid or the mammy. She suckled some of these children. In fact, I give one example. When I was in the 70s and 80s in the South, right, in Louisiana, right. Mm-hmm. Why did they have always every station have a black female anchor?
Yeah, right. Every news station.
Every news station had a black female anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, and basically what that means is that we're dealing with an ahistorical consciousness. We're dealing with, when I mean ahistorical, is that you have women like this woman here who is disconnected from history. And what you have is black women who are fundamentally disconnected from history, who have not grappled. They have not grappled with inheritance. They have not grappled with the legacy in terms of what they have inherited. So even someone like John Hope Franklin in his writings, if you read John Hope Franklin, the black historian, the legendary black man who died more than 15 years ago, he talked about, even his own writings, that black men, so John Hope Franklin was born in the early part of the 20th century. He dies in around 2005, 2006, and he says that black women were given an advantage in terms of education, in terms of upward mobility over against black men.
Yes.
And what happens is that this history has been lost. This history has been lost. Black women, black feminists, black womanists, the black female intellectual, the professional, she has not studied, she has not engaged with this history. So the black professional female is operating from a calculus that is post 1980. Post 1980. What that means is that she is fundamentally disconnected from Black American history.
All right. Even Dr. Martin Luther King talked about the black matriarchy. A lot of people want to sidestep that. But go ahead.
I didn't want to intervene, but let's just be honest about the whole, the genus of all of this in the current predicament that we're in. Like the entirety of feminist studies and women and gender studies is ahistorical. It just starts off with the idea that, this Marxian idea that women are the bourgeoisie. Women are the proletariat. Men are the bourgeoisie.
Right.
Manichaean dualism that they create. Good,
right.
Bad men.
Right.
Men oppressive, women oppressed. And
it supersedes class and race. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of women upset about this, but people love to have things to be upset about. And at the end of the day, they take out their animus on us. Whatever frustrations they have, they take them out on us. But also, I dare say, there are some women who derive pleasure from this. I believe it. That this weird situation that black men find themselves in this country. I believe some black women enjoy being able to offer us up to the mass.
Yeah, and I would add to that is that they enjoy it because there's no consequence to it. There's no punishment. There are no checks and balances. There is nothing within the culture, academic culture, political culture writ at large, that balances, that corrects it, that checks it. And because there are no checks and balances, there is no scrutiny whatsoever, that these ideas can flourish so that they can exist fundamentally as ahistorical automatons, that they can talk about black people, black history, black women, as though no prior history has ever existed.
Yeah, it's just called ex nihilo out of the women's movement. This whole idea that we bore the brunt of racial animus in the United States, and even when it comes to the numbers of black people who were transported over here in the demographics of the people who it was primarily men who were brought here up until the point where the people from the United States knew that slavery was going to be outlawed, so they went and they got as much women as they could in order to get them to reproduce. And a lot of women reproduced their way to freedom.
And the other part of us is also we have to think about white women, right? because white women are basically exercised in history. White women are not. They are not collaborators in Jim Crow. White women are not collaborators in slavery. White women are not collaborators in any type of history that impacts black women or black men. That is, they are fundamentally flawless, fundamentally innocent. So there's this idea that being a woman is, or the status of a woman being oppressed, all right, is greater. It has more gravity, more weight than slavery, than Jim Crow, than colonialization, anything that has to do with the oppression of black people, not just in the United States, but all over the world. 500 years.
So white women are presumed innocent, huh?
Yes.
That's that Bill Burr, man. You know, like
that is
gotta be like live. How is it women swung their Gucci booty feet over the fence of oppression and claimed it for themselves? All the things that were supposed to be a portion for black folks so that we could thrive and function.
No, for black men, as per the Kerner Commission, that's what it was for. And that's when doggone Johnson put that, with that executive order, put sex in the middle and actually X that out, because he didn't do it before the Kerner Commission. Executive order put sex in the middle.
Damn it! Sorry about that.
I get what you're saying. I get exactly what it is that you're saying. But to echo with Ronald Neal and you, for the most part, like I also did a show on Ann Dummett and what she wrote about racism and sexism. And racism and sexism, there's no equivalence to the two.
Okay.
I mean, it just isn't. Okay. Women, and even Frederick Douglass said this, I think somebody put a quote up not too long ago. When women, are hung from trees, flogged and beaten in public, told that they can't, use the same restrooms and frequent the same businesses, or be inducted into the same, organizations or go to the same schools. And until, you can point to a laundry list of items. Now, women might not have been able to go to school with men, but or be able to vote, and things like that. But they live right next to the man. Okay.
Well,
and black females. So what happens is that black female status right now, 2021, with respect to women like this, is synonymous with white female status. White female status right now and white female status historically. White female status has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with Jim. It has absolutely nothing to do with Western conquest. And so these are like, so the most fundamental basic oppression in terms of womanhood has to do with women. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with what white men and white women have done historically across space and time. So she is fundamentally severed, separated, independent from world history.
Okay, hold on, fellas. Now we're gonna continue with it.
All right.
But I just wanted to add to something Gigi was talking about. There's never been, as far as the documented data, there's never been a year in American history where black men have gotten more college degrees than black women. Hasn't happened.
Never.
So if we're going to talk about this narrative of black women being excluded from education, we have to differentiate between how white women talk about this in relation to white men, and exporting that rhetoric into the black community, because black men are not white men. No. So it's a different dynamic.
The Mohawk Conference on the Negro Problem in 1890 explicitly said that black men did not need an education past the 6th grade, but black women needed the education as much as she could get, because she's the one that had to do the bills. She's the one that had to educate the children. She's the one that had to run the household. So they explicitly said that back in 1890. It's been there for a long time. They never really wanted black men to read, because they always thought that black men that were reading were dangerous. Okay.
Because they were reading their ideas. I mean, their ideas are predicated upon liberty and death. They have a revolutionary tradition. Okay? So you get black men reading these ideas and understanding it. Okay, so you got a group of white men who are arguing about taxation without representation, and they consider that to be slavery. But here I am, I'm actually subjected to slavery. Okay, So liberty or death, okay, well, let's choose death, revolutionary suicide. Okay. But they don't want that. And they always talk about pacifism and let's talk our way through this, and it's not time yet. We can't contend with these issues right now. It's not an acceptable time. Look, black men have been going through the grid from the beginning. And it's unfortunate, that these excuses are made for the poor treatment of us. It's ridiculous, man. But another thing I wanted to add, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead. I'm gonna withdraw from the conversation as strong as I am. But all these degrees, man. I'm following Carter G. Woodson on this one. A lot of black folks are going to these colleges and universities, and they're being miseducated. Okay, just because you go to college doesn't necessarily mean that you're walking out of there with a thoroughgoing understanding of history. Because if you did, you wouldn't be thinking the way that you're thinking. A lot of people go to college and they perceive education as a means to an end, not an end in and of itself. And that's unfortunate,
Okay. Now I don't want you withdrawing from the conversation. I just want us to get this video in too. So don't withdraw, brother. All right. So let's continue.
Black in this country is because what are you doing about it? What's the name of your therapist?
What's the name of my therapist?
In general, are black women in therapy for these issues?
Yes.
In mass.
I think we're getting there, because what I can say is,
come on, Ma. This is the black community. The therapy we have in the black community. No. I'll let you say it, because there is a point to be made. The black experience in this country, because of chattel slavery, I can hear that. But what I can't hear is you're not doing anything about the issues that you want us to take under advisement. It just happens. It's a permanent condition that can't be changed. So what? It's either ignore it or Jesus.
No.
I'm asking, what are you doing about it?
Me on a personal level?
No.
I'm a therapist. I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm serving our community.
You're a licensed therapist, and just like I know, I deal with therapists all the time, and black people are not in therapy at any large level.
I agree, and I love that you promote it. It's becoming destigmatized, but we, of all people, we need it the most, and especially our women as well, and how to relate to our black men. There is a level of decorum that's missing, but again, I feel like it's misguided self-expression because of all the oppression and just the day-to-day microaggressions, all the things that we have to deal with. This is a way to kind of,
No.
All right.
I've tried, ma'am. The way you talk removes accountability from women. Misguided expression. Bullshit. You get away with it. We have one-way aggression and violence in our community. It goes from women to men. Men are not allowed full expression. That is why so many women get upset with my show, because I actually have the nerve to bark back.
Dr. J.
Because what you're saying, even if the...
Dr. J, can I say
something? Please.
I need to say something. So I want to think about this, man. So we always hear the mantra of the most educated, right?
Okay.
We hear the mantra of the most educated. We've been hearing this mantra since the 1990s, and I'm being generous. So we have women who have PhDs. We have women who have master's degrees. We have women who have college degrees. We have women, large numbers of women who are incorporated into American society.
Okay.
They are not oblivious to therapy. They're not oblivious to the psychological services. They're not oblivious to anything. In other words, is that these women have had the tools. They've had the resources. They've had the insights. They've been exploited. They've been exposed to Sigmund Freud. They've been exposed to Dr. Spock. They've been exposed to Carl Jung. They've been exposed to so many psychological theorists They've been exposed to so many resources in terms of internal investigation of their lives. And here we are in 2021, and you have millions upon millions of women, okay, who, despite this exposure, do not have this type of self-reflection. They do not have this type of internal interrogation in terms of their lives. In other words, is that what we're witnessing is fundamental failure on the part of women who have had greater access to education than Black men, greater, more advanced, okay, exposure to tools than Black men. And over the past 50 years, despite all of these resources and all of this knowledge, we are still stuck in the 19th freaking century. We are still stuck there. Oprah Winfrey, Iyanla and Van Zant, all of these books in terms of self-help, self-work, and what have you, and we are still behind. We are still fundamentally, the Black female intellectual, Black college female is fundamentally backwards. She has offered absolutely nothing to the Black female culture in terms of self-analysis and examination of her condition. That is where we are.
Well, you know what?
This female and this woman who was under the age of 35, I think she's under 35, under 35, has not developed the sufficient enlightenment over the past 50 freaking years to look internally upon the condition of the Black female. This is the tragedy that we are fundamentally dealing with.
But you know, I want to take it a step further.
Okay.
Like if you go to college without having a political education already, or a political orientation towards love and progress amongst Black folks, you'll get there and you'll be pulled in a million different directions because they're going to throw a whole bunch of different theories at you. Okay? And they're primarily going to be white theories. Look, even if you go to an all-Black college, man, you know, I went to all-Black college. I had more white professors there than I had Black professors there. Okay. It's just reality, okay? I can't say that's the truth about every Black college, but it was about mine, okay? And so what you do is you get a heavy dose of everything that you get everywhere else. And there's nobody to structure it, put it all together, and to make it make sense. Again, I refer to Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro. But in this case, you know, you got the most educated class, so to speak, you know, quote unquote, not actually taking stock of their real political situation and the political situation of Black men. But see, this is all related to integrationism. It's all related to proximity to whiteness, and also in relation to, you know, as far as I'm concerned, being imaginary white women, like Dr. Ronald Neal said. You know, they consider themselves to be the equivalent of these white women.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, so think about this, man. I'm gonna give you a basic example. So, birth control is introduced in 1960. Birth control, a fundamental technology that was created fundamentally by a white male scientist. Birth control, okay, the pill introduced. Here we are in 2021. To what extent has birth control, in terms of the pill and the other advancements, in terms of the patch, in terms of IUDs, in terms of the other technologies of birth control, how has that fundamentally changed our condition? It has not. So when you take something like birth control and you extrapolate it and you extend it to the psychological realities of the Black female population, what you realize is that it has absolutely no effect on their consciousness. And that is the consequence. So what you have is you have Black women who are right now earning degrees in social work. They're earning degrees in psychology, clinical psychology, and psychiatry that absolutely does nothing in terms of history and how they look at Black people. And what we're seeing right here is the basic consequence of the failure And this is internal. This is not, you can't blame this on white people. This is internal. The failure within Black society, Black female culture in particular, to look critically upon the Black female condition with respect to Black men.
Absolutely.
Well, why look at it? To them, this is heaven. They get to, they get to do what they want. I mean, you know how I did a show a long time ago also, and I read David Walker's appeal. And, I'm not saying that slavery wasn't traumatic for Black women. I'm pretty sure it was. But, in one instance, David Walker is having a discussion about how a Black woman, after some slaves were able to break loose, ends up saving one of the captors, the Black man, I think, because it was, Black people who were men were also involved in the process of keeping Black people enslaved, okay? Transporting them to and fro, okay? So this woman who, upon seeing this man, gasping for his breath and, trying to clean the life, she ends up helping this man. And helping him get back, and get his awareness about him, so that eventually all these other men could be put back in chains. But while that was occurring, the Black women and the children were allowed to roam around freely. Now the Black men were in shackles and chains.
Yes, they were.
Because the threat, if there's any threat to this system, is going to come from men. It will not be from women. And they know this. This is common sense. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand this, man. All you got to do is look at conflicts between different groups, race, nationals, throughout the annals of time.
Shout out to Sedanius' social dominance theory.
You conquer them, you kill the men, and subject them to outgroup, male subjugation, and you perform psychological operations on the women.
Yeah, you use the women as wombs, and they become material. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is also, it even goes further than that. So, and I've said it before, when I was on Gigi, Gigi and I have a conversation about this in terms of the history of conquest. So in the history of conquest, what you have is a deliberate effort to annihilate, you subjugate, you eliminate the men. And what you do is you colonize the women. What you do is you psychologically manipulate them. You turn them into concubines. You turn them into comfort girls. You turn them into servants. You turn them into domestics. That is the fundamental history of conquest. And we have not yet come to terms with that. And the black woman intellectual, the one who she has a PhD in psychology, clinical psychiatry, she has a PhD in English, history. It doesn't matter what arena she has a PhD in. She refuses to look at this fundamental history and the extent to which it has impacted her. And so what happens is that when she does not look at this and she neglects it and rejects it, she looks at you and I, us black men, through the standpoint of what's standing in front of her in the 21st century. So this is an ahistorical perspective, okay? That black people in the black condition never existed prior to 1990. It never existed prior to 1980. It never existed prior to 1970. It is something that is outside of history. So she thinks, here's the thing, she thinks that right now in the 21st century, 2021, okay, that this is the end all, be all of black existence, who she is. And her assessments, I'm sorry, I know I'm sounding crazy and aggressive.
You're making sense. Yeah, go ahead.
But her conclusions are based on presentism. Historians talk about this. It's presentism. That the only thing that matters right now is what is in front of you, the present. There, you are completely, utterly removed from history. Nothing matters before 1995. Nothing happens before the year 2000. And so you can see these black males, black men, as primitive, as savage, as abject, as sinful, etc., through this presentist lens. And that's what we're getting right here.
And I think much of this has evolved, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, with the rise of BLM, all the way through to the election of Vice President Harris. You have really a certain type of political coup that seems to be going on, where at the expense of Black male death, right, you have the mobilization of a very particular type of Black female political power that excludes Black men from any significant presence, but has no problem using that death to amass and politicize itself. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But but part of what we've seen in this interview is the extent to which these ideas in the culture, propagated through popular culture and media, have seeped into the everyday person, the everyday woman in particular, right? You know, now this woman is presumably educated. She's a trained therapist. But what we hear often has been, especially since the 80s, been put out in pop culture in such a manner where women who've never even heard of Bell Hooks, Patricia Hill Collins, they can still articulate a Black feminist ethos without having had to read any of these people because of how much it's been propagated.
It's become a religion instead of education.
Very much a religion. But here, let's continue.
Before you go, man, I'm gonna say this. What I just heard that woman say, as far as I'm concerned, man, was a justification for Black men being treated like Everlast bags at a boxing.
Wow. Okay.
And that's unfortunate.
I heard that.
That's unfortunate. So you can take out any frustration, any anger, any issues you have with us or the population at large. We're your punching bags.
Oh yeah.
And what that means, here's the thing, and what that means, and this is what scares me. What that means that in the future, this society, if they go with this society can fundamentally justify the extermination of Black men.
They already have.
Okay? That is that if they have this group of, if you have a population of women like this who are saying, because basically saying we're fundamentally savage.
Yeah, or flawed, or non-fixable,
flawed, or what have you.
In other words, they've been saying that they say that about the boys. The boys are not worthy or worth educating because they're not fixable. Because the Black men, even though we come from the same womb, are fundamentally flawed. That's what they're trying to say.
Yes, and what that means is that we can get in a situation where the genocide, the extermination of Black men in the future, all right, can be rationally justified. It can be justified. So we're looking. We can look at what I mean. So white people can look at what Black women are saying, right? And they say, you know what? We need to go ahead and wipe these men out.
Yeah, well, you know what Bell Hooks feels, if we can jettison the Black men, then the Black woman will be free to marry white men. White men will actually accept them.
So this in the end, in the future, this can be used. It can be weaponized to not only incarcerate us, but completely eliminate us from the population, where our extermination, even though right now people are, they're crying and lamenting over Black men getting killed or what have you, that thing, it can shift. It can shift to a point where it's, you know what, this is an irredeemable population. We need to eliminate them completely.
But you know what I want to add before I press play on this and continue it, I think, and this is one of the reasons I chose this interview. Understand something. This woman is just not, she's not a regular listener that just called in to opine on the subject, right? She called in a very particular way to defend Black women on Kevin's show using a method of weaponized feminism as it relates to talking points. If you listen to the regular callers, these are everyday women calling in to talk about their individual situations. She didn't do that. She called to argue with Kevin. Now, she got more than she bargained for, but she called in to argue with Kevin, and she was using ideas that have been weaponized in a very particular way to absolve Black women of accountability, of responsibility, and put it all on Black men. And Kevin is not letting her do it, but that's nevertheless what she called in for. And I want people to hear that when you listen to her. She actually had her talking points prepared. She just wasn't able to get them off because Kevin wasn't letting her. But let's continue.
even for the truth in it, you are trying to expand it to where it covers a lot of things. No, what are you doing about it? What was all this, Mike? What was all this misguided expression when we had Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, and all that other kind of stuff? When we, prior to 1965, when we were mad at a rate of 80%, what was all that misguided expression in? When we actually had real, institutionalized colored whites, where was it all then?
You're right. You're right. There were a lot more checks and balances in place. There was a lot more of a real threat. Like, you get out of line and you're going to lose a life.
No, ma'am. What I'm saying was, where was all the misguided expression from women to men back when we had real racism in your face?
Yeah. No,
that's why that's why I call bullshit on your example. Because as you become more free, you become more problematic. We are almost two different races.
Okay, wait a minute.
Shout out to Dr. Neal, because he said that like a month before.
I said that. So the thing about it is that it goes back to bifurcation.
Mm-hmm.
It's bifurcation. This is 50 years of social engineering, okay, where we are at a place where we have deep segregation. Here's the deal, man. I'm reading a book of a Black woman right now who is at Emory University. She's lamenting. I'm putting her name out here, Diane Stewart, okay? And Diane Stewart she has a book on, it's called Black Love. She's called it's called Black. It's deal with
Black women, Black love. Yeah.
Black women, Black love, and marriage as a civil rights issue. Okay. And I've communicated with her, and this is a Black woman. She's a womanist. Okay. And she's one of the few people in the United States in the last 20, 30 years who has recognized this. I don't agree fundamentally with her perspective, but she understands, okay, that there is a deep gap. I mean, a gap. I'm going to be generous with this in terms of Black men and Black women being miles apart. Okay, and that is that you have Black women who are fundamentally living isolated lives from Black men.
Yes.
They have professional Black women who have absolutely no contact with Black men whatsoever. Okay, this is a woman she's older than me. She's probably 50 years old right now. And here's the thing, and she says that you have these Black women. She agrees. She won't come out as I doubt she will say this in public, but she agrees with Kevin Samuels. But there are some Black women who are fearful. They don't want to die alone, and they know that that white men are not coming to rescue them. They know that the Hispanic men are not coming to rescue them. They know that the Asian men are not coming to rescue them. And they are fundamentally alone, deep down, for the course of their lives. They wanted to be with Black men. But social engineering has made it in a way where they are fundamentally separate, alienated, divided from Black men. There are two worlds. We do not live in the same worlds. We live fundamentally different realities.
But let me add to that. Let me add to that. Now, real quick, we have 620 watching, 619. Like, share, subscribe, donate, support the channel, and join, become a member. Please also look out for BGS Ibmore. Also look out for Black Gnostic, his Black Gnostic videos. Look for Green Gorilla. Look for Dr. Ronald Neal. Subscribe, join their channels, support them as well. So make sure you do. But I wanted to add something to what Dr. Neal was just breaking down. One of the things that BGS and I talked about about a month ago, we were talking about the income levels of Black men. We were talking about entrepreneurship in the Black community. And one of the things that we had to look to the data to find, because it's not something you hear discussed publicly, is that from 18 to 65, as far as income is concerned, Black men actually earn slightly more than Black women. Yeah, and there's only a few 100,000 less Black men employed, but there are fewer Black men altogether. Appreciate the support, Grinch. there's fewer black men alive as far as that's concerned. So you have black men who are employed that are earning more, and you actually have more black men with businesses. So
Yes,
the interesting thing is when we hear all this rhetoric from black women about how they can't find men that can offer parity, and it really, and there's a really kind of arrogant, narcissism to this too. These black men are beneath me. There are actually more brothers who are doing well than people want to credit them for. But if appreciate that, Bean. But if you make 50 and he makes 60, but you're looking for someone that makes 100, the brother who's making 60 becomes invisible. And all of the language becomes about black male failure, right? And I just want to, it's one of the reasons I wanted to do that show a while ago, is because really the data shows us that black men, despite being worse off in so many different levels and so many different areas, are actually doing better than many black women. But it's despite everything, not because they've been offered any major structural or systemic form of support. So when we really begin to look at the separation of black male and female lives, appreciate that, heavy hitter. It's interesting to see this split occur, even though brothers are uphill, doing better than people would have ever credited them for.
And what happens, Dr. Johnson, is that what you're talking about is completely invisible. Yes. What you're talking about is not, it has not been acknowledged, it has not been thoroughly interrogated.
Yes.
What you're talking about is the fact that this narrative of black male deficit has become so enmeshed and entrenched in the culture that it is almost utterly impossible to talk about it. So think about it. Even when we're talking about mass incarceration, okay? We're talking about mass incarceration, that there are over 20 million of us, okay? And here's an inconvenient fact, all right? So there are maybe, 1 million, 1.5, maybe 2 million of us who deal with the consequences of mass incarceration in terms of jail, detention, probation, and parole. What happens to the rest of us? What happens to the rest of black men who are not in jail, who are not locked up? And I don't want to minimize the gravity of hyper incarceration, what have you, but all of us are not in prison. All of us are not unemployed. All of us are not homeless, as you've suggested. Now, we have high numbers in terms of disproportional rates of unemployment, disproportional rates of homelessness and what have you. But the narrative has been that all of us, hell, 100% of us are completely at the bottom, okay? And the thing is that this is a narrative that has continued to proliferate. Black women have pushed this narrative, and a part of it is their completely utter isolation from who we are as human beings, which means that they don't know black men. They don't know the actual status of black men. They have not studied it. They have not analyzed it. They have not done the work. They have not invested intellectually in where black men are. They are completely absorbed in their sense of self-isolation and detachment from black men. And so this is where we get a lot of this rhetoric and these narratives that have been unexamined for decades.
Well, here, keep in mind, you don't invest in someone that's beneath you. I mean, that's me. But let's hear a little bit more.
Black women are women.
Yeah.
We can't make a demand. We can't even ask you to smile. But you want us to protect you.
Uh-oh.
Are you all women? No. What do you think? What do you say? No, before you answer this question, by the way you see the ethnic image of black women acting towards black men, are black women our women? Not aspirationally, by the results, by what you see.
Not aspirationally, by what I see.
She's struggling.
Not aspirationally. I feel like yes, we definitely
I asked you what you see, and you went to what you feel. Ma'am, are you going to actually tell me by what you see, black women act like they belong to black men?
We need a lot of mentoring.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna say
no. You already starting to beatboxing. See, subjective variable. See, when you ask a question, boxes them in, they don't want to call, they don't want to host.
You ain't no good, Gigi.
Yes or no, man?
Dr. J,
you're a professional.
Dr. J,
Mm-hmm.
this is the internalization.
Yes.
This is the internalization of black male deficit, black male lack, black male pathology, black male everything.
And black female superiority.
Yeah, superiority without any research, without any interrogation. You don't pick up anything. You don't look at what the Brookings Institute produced in 2018. You don't study black men. So it's based upon this complete isolation. So you have these women, and I'm going to be particular, professional women who have college degrees, who live on a island. They live on an island, and many of them live fundamentally among white people. Their fundamental social interactions, once they leave college, once they enter into the professional world, their basic interactions are not with black people. Their basic interactions are fundamentally with white people. And so they come to these conclusions about black men with no interrogation, no research, no curiosity whatsoever. And so black men become fundamentally deficit. And so what happens is this is where they become honorary white people, where they fundamentally look at black men through the lens of whiteness.
You know what? You're exactly right on that, Ron. Look, peep it out, man. So I just got through reading segments of Charles Mills's Racial Contract, on one of my shows. And ultimately, one of the concepts in that book is that white people view black people as primitive and savage, and the spaces that they occupy are primitive and savage. And wherever they go, they bring that savagery with them. Okay. But these women have found a means by which, because this has always been the case, they've never been placed in under the same pressure as black men have related to violence, overt racial violence. Okay. Right. And so therefore, they have, like you said, they've internalized racism, but primarily towards black men. They don't perceive themselves as pathological like black men. This is why Tommy Curry is important, and why he basically argued that white feminist women, adopted the sociology and the criminology of racist theorists in the academy and just interpolated into their own framework of intersectionalism. And so when you start to talk about everything that's wrong in the black community, the locus of all of that pathology is the black boogeyman. It's us. We're the ones that are the problem. We're the ones that are pathological, and we make up for it. We compensate for our lack of power through rape and torture of black women. And you sent a video on Messenger to me where this woman was talking about black femicide and that she doesn't commiserate with what's going on with us because black women getting killed and murdered and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking to myself, like, black women and children are the ones that suffer at the hands of the black boogeyman, without even acknowledging that most of the violence that's enacted towards children in our communities is at the hands of women.
At the hands of women. They're the caretakers. But that.
But then the argument becomes, Hasan, it gets to this point. Well, if they were around more, then they probably would do more, commit more of the violent actions because they have this innate propensity to violence.
But what's powerful about what you're saying is because you're really talking about this fictionalization of the black male boogeyman, which really begins with fiction. it begins, especially in the early 80s. You look at Alice Walker, BGS and I were talking about this yesterday.
Right.
You know, Alice Walker, you look at, you know, the kind of resurrection of a very particular type of Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes.
Literary tradition that helps to create this. And this is why The Color Purple becomes so important, because Danny Glover gave a face to this. He became the poster boy that reflected on all Black men. Where somehow Black male patriarchy and oppression, even though we can't empirically find this period, become it becomes all encompassing to the degree that it overshadows slavery. Black men become more oppressive entities than enslavement. And to this day, you will hear women on social media say things like Black men are killing Black women in mass.
Yeah.
And
so what happens is that we as Black males are seen as fundamentally, we are uncivilized.
Yes.
Okay. And this is the work of feminists. So if you read someone like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, she is a Black woman who came out of Somalia, who grew up in she grew up in the tribal culture. She wrote a series of books basically saying that Black men in Africa, particularly the tribalistic Muslims, because she came out of Somalia, she would say that these men are fundamentally uncivilized. And she pressed Western powers. I'm talking about stuff that was written within the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The war on terror. She was like, the war on terror was justified. You justify America's invasion into Afghanistan, into those parts where you have in Muslim parts of Africa. You justify that based on the fact that these men are fundamentally brutes, they're savages, and they need to be enlightened by Western democracy, Western institutions, Western education, all of that. And at the end of the day, she says that she was basically saved because she moved to the Netherlands, and she was saved by white Western ideas, liberalism, and everything. She calls herself a feminist.
Right.
And these are the same arguments that live right here.
Yes.
You can Google Ayaan she's married to a white man. Okay.
Of course.
And what she says about Black men in Africa and her tribal culture that she grew up is absolutely no different from what Alice Walker said about Black men here in the United States, that we are brutes, and that if you can't redeem us, you got to destroy us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but you know what? That puts a whole different spin on policing Black bodies, because you got to think, man, right now there's this campaign, you can't police Black women's bodies, right? But what does that actually mean? Well, it means that you can't shame them for doing things that are blameworthy. They can't be held culpable for any, viciousness or any kind of, slovenliness. But on the other hand, anything it is that we do, even asking them to smile, becomes an infraction against their freedom.
Exactly.
But here's the deeper issue. We're the ones whose bodies are actually being policed. And there's data to demonstrate it.
Right.
And these women are also policing our bodies. Anytime they call the police on us, knowing full well that half the time they're the catalyst for all of this crazy shit going on in the context of our households. Not saying all the time, but at least half the time. These women will still have our bodies policed by these people who we know to actually be brutal. We know who the real brutal people are. And
they use the threat of, because I remember when I was a little kid, my mother used to use the threat of the police, of the Dallas police, to bring my father to heel.
Or the family court.
Well, this is before the family court, No,
I'm not talking about your situation. I'm just saying in terms of what is.
Oh yeah, I heard it come out of my daughter's mouth. I'm gonna get the white man on her, the father of her child. And
that's man. Look, that's why what she said is so earlier so much like really just ripped through my heart. You know, like, you mean you feel all of this pain for us, but you're putting us on the chopping block.
Oh, we not
next on the you putting us at the whipping post.
Oh,
we got more. We got more coming.
We got more coming. I definitely want y'all to hear it. But one thing I just want to quickly add before we go back: listen for, and do this in general, not just in terms of this video. One of the things I find that a lot of these women do, especially when they call in the Kevin show, but I hear it more. I've been hearing it for the last decade more and more. Is they'll start things with "I feel," right? I feel. Yeah. Now I want you to be clear. When you hear the usage of "I feel," what that does is it exonerates her from actually having to be accountable. So let me give you an example. When I'm teaching class and I ask the students, all right, the reading assignment was last night. You read it. According to the author, what did he or she say about X, Y, and Z? When I hear, appreciate that, MP. When I hear "I feel like what he said," that means you're breaking from the script of what was actually written to talk about what you feel like, which absolves you of actually having to be accountable to the assignment. Now, that's in a very particular academic setting. But even in this conversation, when Kevin is asking her questions and she's sidestepping the questions with "I feel," there's a lot that just let that trigger for you that's a get out of jail free card to say whatever I want to say without any accountability. Because what exactly do you say to "I feel"? People feel whatever they feel. There's no reply to that.
Hey, look, let me just say this, man. I'm trained in philosophy. Okay? Since the ancient times in Western culture, people were held culpable for their feelings. Even in Christianity, there's a rich tradition about wrath, envy. You know, the idea that whatever it is that you feel can be validated because, you know, everybody has feelings. No, some feelings that you have are inappropriate. And they borderline on vice. This is, I mean, like, but I'm not making this up though. If it is like, okay, for example, in the Aristotelian and the Platonic tradition, if you are out of balance related to your emotions, you're not a virtuous individual. It just is what it is. If you get angry too much, at the wrong time for the wrong reason, you're vicious.
Oh, it sounds like a black man.
well, but I mean, it can happen to anybody. But the whole idea about feelings just being validated just because you have them is a lie.
Well, they don't validate our feelings when you ask them to smile and them being pleasant. They in this whole call, they never validated a black man's feelings. They use theirs, but they don't validate ours. We're held responsible for our feelings.
Well, you know, Drake told them a long time ago, be nice to these NGs for what?
All right, let me play it. So here we go.
Right, a healthcare professional, right?
I am.
But answer the question as a professional. Yes or no?
Do our women look like they?
You've heard the question 3 times.
Oh,
are black women are?
I'm gonna say that's tough. That's tough because the answer is yes. The answer is yes. We belong to like y'all. Yes, y'all are for us, and we are for you.
Black men. I want you to understand. Black men. Hold on, man. Black men. I want you to understand how you felt when you saw her struggling to try to get this lie out of her mouth. That is the link they will go. That is, you go back to the, no ma'am, you go back to the comment section, go to the time and date stamp, go there and look at what the black men say. I know what I felt here.
Oh my God.
No, ma'am, because I know the question I'm asking. And the answer is, I can objectively say, no, you're not. And I can say it, but you don't want to admit what we can see. If you look at what the men are saying, they're saying no. But you're still trying to tell us, yeah, we are. And the men are like, well, what world are you seeing? It's like, y'all, and you're a professional. I'm like, answer it as a professional. And you're still going to get to the point where like, well, yeah. Then the men don't know what they're seeing.
So yes, we definitely belong to you. And we want to just improve those relationships. I feel like we just have a difficult.
You belong to us. You belong to us.
Yep.
This is what you're saying. So if that's the case, then why would a black man ask a black woman to smile? Is she offended? if you belong to us.
Now,
Ooh.
I disagree with being offended, but I don't disagree that some people be honest.
Why okay, offended, whatever, why does she feel put upon? Why does she feel like it makes a demand of her? If it's just a smile, and understand, a black woman who's a femininity influencer asked her femininity group who wants to be married to black men to just smile at every black man, and she was savage for months. You know this is common, man. If black women truly belong to black men as you say they do, why do black women feel put upon by simply being asked to smile at black men? And here's the problem. If we can't have real conversations with our women, because I'm going to tell you something, man. Black men know you're lying. They know you're conflicted. Ma'am, look in the comment section. The black men know you're not being honest. I think black men want relationships with black women more than black women want relationships with black men. Because when asked this question, you're speaking aspirationally. Men are saying, no, you're not ours. And they can see you struggling. But you're going to find a way to rejigger this to make it make sense. And men are saying, you're not ours. We can't even ask you to smile at us.
And here's the thing, man. This is bigger than a smile. We know this is bigger than a smile.
Mm-hmm.
This is bigger than a smile.
Yeah.
When it comes to white men, not just white men, but it comes to other populations of men, Asian, Latino, you name it. All right. This is not an issue. She can function in corporate America. She can function in other spheres of this culture where black men are completely non-existent. And she can be civil. Mm-hmm. She can exercise decorum. She can be virtuous. She can do manners and all that sort of thing. She can be non-combative, okay, belligerent. We can go on and on and on, okay? Right. But outside of those spheres, when she's encountering black men, there is a fundamental problem. You can't deal with black men at a civil level. You can't deal with black men at a basic level of decency because black men are not fundamentally human. Black men, and here's the thing, let me qualify this. I'm not going to say this is true for all black women. It's not true. We are dealing with a fundamental basic archetype that has expressed herself in American society that we all recognize. And we all see this in the real world, and we see this in popular culture, verbatim. What's her name? Simone Sanders. Okay. I mean, it's pervasive. The black feminist is pervasive. That we are diminished. We have no value. We have no respect, anything whatsoever. Okay. We are fundamentally non-human. And Kevin is pushing her to admit the acknowledgement that there is within this core segment population of black women, this perspective that black men are fundamentally outside of the human. They don't record any dignity or respect or what have you. They don't record the benefit of the doubt. We are fundamentally suspicious.
Right.
This is the internalized, and I said this in my previous on my YouTube channel. Yeah. Centuries. I'm talking about centuries of internalized racism that we have not dealt with.
Right.
And that's exactly what it is, man, Ron. I'm just going to be real. It's the image of the black man as the brute. And this all comes out of slavery, and it just moves from one phase and one cycle of history to another. And here we find ourselves in the 21st century still dealing with the image of the black male brute. And the question is, when will we get to define ourselves? When will we get to at least be acknowledged for our humanity, devoid of all of the pathology and all the stigmatization put on us by these people in order to create these forms of social control and abuse and genocide, really, is what it is. Okay? When will we actually be able to exist in a state of well-being where we will be acknowledged as human beings, people worthy of respect, not because we did something, but just because we exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else gets fundamental dignity predicated upon their existence, or at least is considered to be imbued with dignity, innate dignity, just by merely being a human being. But we're subhuman, subcultural, vicious in a way that other people are not. Mm-hmm. And the only people who can save them or save us or save other people from us is the very people who subject us, who have subjected us to the most historical, ridiculous and atrocious acts of violence recorded in human history. Who else?
And what the thing about it is that so we have the burden, right? We have this fundamental burden to prove our humanity.
Right.
We have this fundamental burden to prove the merits of our existence, our worthiness. So she becomes this ultimate authority, all right, in proximity to whiteness, because that's what about it boils down to, is that we have to prove our dignity, our worth, our merits, our humanity to the white society, writ at large. And she has internalized this, which means that she also is this person, this object, this judge, this jury, this whatever you want to call it, whom we have to prove the merits of our worth as human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is one thing, look, for people watching, it's not so much a matter of whether you agree with Kevin Samuels on everything, whether you like him, whether you don't. It's not really about that. One of the things that's significant about Kevin is the conversations he's having and what women are saying. And because black men have been saying that this has been happening to us for decades, but it's not been taken seriously and it's often been dismissed. But one of the things you can do when you listen to the show is you actually get to hear women say these things outright. And that's one of the reasons that I'm playing this, because I want you to hear what is being said. And it reflects for so many black men what we've already experienced, but nobody wants, it's really a gaslighting technique. Nobody wants to admit that what we're experiencing is happening.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. So let me say something about Kevin. So what's significant about Kevin is that Kevin is disproving the thesis, right? So Kevin stands in popular culture right now as this black man who is the refutation of the savage. He is the refutation of the brute. Mm-hmm. He is the refutation of the uncivilized black man with respect to the standards of Western society. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he is putting a mirror towards people. He said, okay, you know what? I'm just as educated, all right, as the standards have required me to be in terms of white society and civilized. And I have the decorum and all that kind of stuff. I'm not the brute. I'm not the black man who's at the utter bottom of society that you have internalized for centuries, who cannot speak to you, who does not have language, who does not have rationality, who does not have competence or what have you. So what you have is a black male who is contesting this long-standing narrative of the uncivilized black male, who is placing a mirror before these women who fundamentally think that black men, and they have thought that black men have been beneath them for centuries. Mm-hmm. This is what Kevin Samuels, and this is why it's not simply just the rhetoric of the high value man and all that kind of stuff, is that you're holding a light to this. Okay, I'm not the brute. I am the man, the master's tool. Who was that? Audre Lorde was talking about the master. You can't dismantle the master's tools with the master's house, all that crap.
The master's house, the master's tools. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin is looking at them. It's like, okay, you really can't refute me because I have ascended, or I embody all the stuff that you think merits human worth and dignity in Western civilization. Mm-hmm. And that's why Kevin Samuels stands out, and that's why he is unprecedented at this particular moment in popular culture.
And I just want to be clear for people. Kevin is very particular about his content. I got written permission for him to show this. He was very kind about it. But for those of you who are interested in commenting on his material, make sure you reach out to him and ask for his permission. But let's continue.
So, brothers, we love you. Let me just tell you. Jessica had a beautiful son.
No. Before we get to that, we need truth.
Okay.
Can you honestly say that greater than 50% of the adult Black females act and move as though they belong to Black men?
No. And I'm going to answer. Can I rebuttal to that?
Go ahead.
I don't feel like the majority necessarily act like they belong to any man, though. So it's not like we're ditching them.
But there's only one. But you can rebuttal that, man. But you're only supposed to belong to one.
Yes.
See, that's subjective variable bullshit. That's not an answer, man. Black men don't want to hear that we don't belong, because you don't expect every man to protect you. When somebody's going upside your head, you ain't asking Brad, Lee, Ahmed, Enrique, protect us. You asking a Black man to protect you.
You're right.
So we don't give a shit if you don't feel like you belong to anybody else. White women, do white women act like they belong to white men?
Yes.
Yes or no? Do Hispanic women act like they belong to Hispanic men?
Absolutely.
Do Asian women act like they belong to Asian men?
Definitely.
Do Middle Eastern women act like they belong to Middle Eastern men?
Yes.
Do Black women act like they belong to Black men?
By and large, no. But
Let me stop right there. So here's the thing. Here's the global analysis. Kevin is doing a global analysis. And this is something that the Black women, Black feminists, and others have not done. When you start injecting other populations, other groups, and I want to go further. So E. Franklin Frazier, when he studied Black people during his lifetime, E. Franklin Frazier did a global analysis. He went to Brazil. He went to other parts of the world to try to understand what was going on with Black people in America in relationship to other people across the world.
Right.
Okay. And when E. Franklin Frazier, all of his conclusions, when you look at his work, his conclusions were based on this globalized understanding of the Black American situation. That is, at the end of the day, our condition, yes, it is unique. It is particular. It has not been replicated any other place in the world, not even in the United Kingdom, in over there.
Right.
Okay. And the thing is that so we have the problem that we have this intellectual arrogance, this ethical arrogance that exists with these women. Okay.
Yes.
That is so isolated, so confined that they cannot see that with respect in relation to the rest of the world, they are aberrations. In relation to the global humanity, they are anomalies. And that's what he's pointing out right here. You're not. Mm-hmm. And people miss that. When we interject Cuba, if you interject Brazil, if you interject Haiti, if you interject any other part of the world, we are fundamentally different, and there is something to be said about all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to chime in before
all I say is, man, at the end of the day, at some point, well, I guess the form of racism in this country has been so vitriolic towards Black men, mm-hmm. and nobody wants to be in close proximity to us when the drama goes down. Yeah. When the S hits the fan, nobody wants to be standing next to a Black man. Okay, and so therefore, whatever you can do to distance yourself from the kind of viciousness that's directed towards Black men, you'll do what you have to do. It's unfortunate though, because Black women give birth to Black men. There's no way that a Black man could exist except for, if a Black man has a child with a white woman, but that's a whole different kind of cultural phenomenon. Okay. a black kid with a white mother. Okay, but when these black women give birth to us, man, and they can't do anything but give birth to black boys, okay, and black girls, okay. At the end of the day, man, they're stuck with the condition because they're the ones that give birth. They're the ones primarily through which black men come into the world, okay? So therefore, they'll never be able to totally detach themselves from us, but they can't, for perpetuity, exist as lords over us by trying to get close and real snugly with white racism. It ain't going to work. In the end, it cannot be sustained.
That is the fundamental conundrum, right? Because when you really get at what Gigi is saying is that what we're dealing with is a fundamental effort and attempt to escape this black condition.
Yeah.
To escape being in close proximity to black men, which by and large to be black. All right. To be born. Here's the thing: to be born a black female. So the thing is that when you really look at it, you have these women who are fundamentally trying to escape the condition of being black women, to being black in a society that refuses them to see them in any other way. And they fundamentally fail at all attempts. When you look at, buy a dog, die alone, ain't nobody coming to save them. Ain't nobody coming to rescue them. Okay, they cannot. At the end of the day, she cannot escape being a black woman.
Nope. Yeah, and the thing is that if you go back and look at the history, shout out to the American slave coast. Okay, they were brought here not to be our women. They were brought here as concubine to the white man, as a production factory to produce slaves. That's what they were brought here for. And at the end of emancipation, since they didn't have anything else to do with them, they assigned. Shout out to Diane Stewart. That's one thing she did. I do agree with. She actually went over the facts. Black men and women were actually assigned to each other. They weren't organically brought together. They were assigned to each other. And there's been this angst for the last 150 years of basically making this assignment work in this racist society. And the one time that they did try to correct it, which is under the Moynihan Report, because they needed to port these black people they didn't have a place for anymore into the broader society, the black women, actually liked their position. Maya Angelou actually played a clip from Maya Angelou saying so back in 1968. They actually liked their position. And this is what we're struggling with. That's what we're struggling with right now. That's what we're struggling with in 2020, during the 2020 election. Black women liking their position. Now they're popping their collar.
Yeah. And the thing is about it, so when you look at the black family, she does not, here's the thing, she does not want to share authority with a black man. In the family.
Nope.
She wants to run that family by herself.
Yep.
She wants to be the boss. She wants to be the overseer. She does not want that black man in the house as an equal. Yeah, I'm being generous. A fucking equal. Okay. She does not want to share any semblance of authority in the black household with a black man. She wants to dominate the household. She wants to be the despot. She wants to be the tyrannical figure in that household. She's not going to give up. She does not want to give up that authority. And she is transferring that psychology onto her children. That we are not going to, we are going to control this household by any means necessary. And if it means the destruction of black people at the end of the day, so be it.
Yeah. And the thing about it, she has the institutional proxy power to make that the case. And that's one of the things about black men, when we contemplate something like marriage and family and family production. At any point, she can push that button, and there is nothing you can do about it. Whether it's divorce, whether it's calling the police, no matter what it is, those institutional resources are at her disposal. And she can make sure that she's in a position of authority using those proxy powers.
Yeah, that's the problem, man. She wants to drive the car and drive the car in a position of domination. And if you don't sit back in the passenger seat and do everything that she wants done, and be at her beck and call, she'll kick you out of the car and put you in the penalty box.
And she's willing to drive that car over a damn cliff.
Yep. Shout out to Saweetie and Quavo.
Shout out to Thelma and Louise.
now that I'm not gonna cuss on Doc's panel, but I would say something that would not. You know what?
All right, let's continue.
Even put a modifier on there, says you are still conflicted with the reality you are seeing. There was no modifier ever before Black people. No modifier. 100%. And see, that's 100%. The problem. And that's the problem, because it is going to come down to women checking women and getting you guys straight. We cannot fix you because you have no respect for us. You only respect each other. And if we can't rely on the educated of you and the intelligent of you and the learned of you to at least be honest, Black men will sit back saying, who the fuck can we rely on? Honestly.
Yeah.
I gotta laugh.
I'm saying that men can't. Black men are just asking Black women to be nice to us.
God damn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When I talk to Black men about their issues with Black women, most of the time, this is what it fundamentally boils down to. It really does. I said this before, if Black women were nice to Black men across the board, do you know the manosphere would probably disappear in a day?
It would. What just to interject, Dr. Johnson, what does your 15-year-old son say about Black women? And what does he want from Black women?
You go, man.
What does he say?
When I asked him about, especially he was starting high school, I asked him about, whether or not he was interested in any of the girls. He said, well, I asked him what, thanks for the support, Ken. I said, well, what's the deal with the Black girls? He said, oh, no, we don't do that. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, no, we fellas talked about it. We don't do that. I said, well, why? He said, well, they're mean and they're vicious. And the way they talk to us is like, like we're something off their shoe. And he just went on. And I said, well, what? And before I could even get out of question, he said, and that's when they like us. I said, damn. He was 14. He said, that's when they like us. They treat us like that. And these are the 13, 14, 15-year-old girls who are learning this behavior from their mothers, their aunts, their cousins, even their grandmothers. Kalila in the comments is saying the same thing. She said, my son said the same.
And they're learning at 5 years old. They're learning at 6 years old. So it's way before the teenage years.
But
the household, when you have households that are led by these women,
yes,
that is the culture that is inbred.
But let me clarify though. This is the thing about it was everything he said, me and my friends experienced at his age too. The difference was that, in the 1980s, where we were children of baby boomers. My father was a Black Panther. So there was a sense of race loyalty despite our frustration. This new generation doesn't have that same race loyalty. So when you expose them to the same frustrations, because let's be real, how many of y'all on this panel experienced that when you were young? The hostility, the disrespect.
Oh yeah. That's it.
New. It's not new.
And that's a 2-parent. I grew up in a 2-parent household, and my mother, I could tell you, she was not nice to my father. No. She wasn't nice. She wasn't nice. He was loyal. She did her duty, just like in fences, right? She was loyal. She did her duty, but she was not nice.
So go ahead.
And what happens? Here's the thing. Once he turns 17, 18, or whatever, or 21.
Yes.
And he ventures outside of that household.
Yes.
He sees a completely different world.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And that's when the transformation of consciousness.
Yes.
If he is aware, that's when it kicks in. Okay. When he recognizes, when he begins to interface with other populations, And now was the thing. I don't care what people say about it. Moynihan have a point, but one thing that Moynihan got right was that you have a subculture that is completely alienated from a larger society, a larger culture. He's talking about the black and white dynamic in 1965, but we can apply this to 2021. Okay, so once these boys venture away from their mothers, once they get out into the real world and they start working, they go to the military, they just start navigating American society, and let's just say that they successfully navigate and they're able to become, you know, a relatively self-sufficient. They begin to see the deficits of how they grew up, okay? And they begin to see that, wow, my household, how I grew up is not representative of how the world functions, okay? And they begin to, you know, move away. If they're smart, I will say this, if they're smart, they begin to move away from the paradigm that they were raised under. All right, so that's the thing. So even though she has him between the time he was born to the age of 17 or to 18 or even 21, if he lives long enough and if he's thinking, he's going to fundamentally question what he came up under, and he's going to move in a different way.
And so what happens when a woman that he's, you know, a type of woman he's never even really interacted with before is nice to him? I said this when on Artisan Show Sunday. I was talking about just something basic. I said I went to a diner in the South, and one of the waitresses is an old white woman. She walked up and she was taking my order, and she said, "Well, what would you like to eat, honey?" And I felt something when she said that. Now, it wasn't attraction. It wasn't anything weird. It was just she was being feminine and nice. Appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? It was just being nice and feminine. And when I talk to black men and we get down to brass tacks, so many are not accustomed to that.
No.
They're really not. I mean, my favorite comedian, Patrice O'Neal, talked about this. He said, you know, one of the reasons that he talked about, you know, he talked with black men who go to college and start dating white women. He said the word okay, you know, like he was like, he tell you, well, can you make me a sandwich, or do you want to go here? And she was like, okay. He was like, black men are not used to the word okay. Now you can say that this is not empirically grounded. You could say you don't agree, but here's the thing. When so many black men can agree with that, and we've not even met each other, we've not had a conversation, we don't share a philosophy about everything, but when so many black men, conservative, revolutionary, it doesn't matter, Christian, Muslim, when black men can come together and say, well, we've all had the same kinds of experiences, that says something. That's why Kevin's show is important in terms of the interactions and the conversations. It's not about Kevin. It's about what he's revealing and how it impacts so many of us, but we're not allowed to talk about it in the community. You're not allowed to.
But see,
and that's why I say that Kevin, I see Kevin fundamentally as a mirror. I mean, he's putting a mirror to the world. He's saying, all right, this is who you are. And you cannot contest it. They cannot contest the mirror. Okay. And he's exposing everything. I don't care about the high value and getting married and all that kind of stuff that he's talking about or whatever, but he is forcing black women to utterly be honest about who they are. Okay. And they have not been, up to this point, been honest. Like I said, I don't mean to plug my shit or whatever, but I'm like, be honest.
Plug it.
If you hate us.
Yeah, plug it. Yeah.
Plug it.
Which video? Which video is it?
Yeah. She hates black men. I just said last week. She hates black men. I was talking about Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza, and Patrice Cullors. If you have this deep hatred, disdain for black men, if you can't stand us, just come out and say it. Stop beating around the bush. Stop being a coward. Stop being a coward. Just come out and just say that you hate us. I don't care how irrational your beliefs are, or how ahistorical your predisposition is, or whatever. But if that's where you are, just say, don't pretend that you care. Don't pretend that there's some connection between us. Just come out and say it. Let's just get it over with. And what Kevin was doing, particularly in this segment, because I saw this segment before I did my video and other stuff. And this is stuff that's been percolating in us for years, centuries. Hell, fuck it.
Yes.
And the thing is that just come out and say it. Be honest. Stop being a coward. Stop being a coward and put your stuff straight on the table so we know where we stand with you.
I think Gigi was going to get something in, and then I edited the video, so I'm only playing this one and a very short clip after it. So I do want to get through it so everybody can see what we're talking about. But Gigi, you were about to say something.
Yeah, man. I think you know, the thought that was about to come out was that you know, just kind of echoing Ronald Neal, man. That, you know, the internalized racism is something that we have to fight as Black men again and again and again, over and over and over. So this is why Black men are having such issues with Black women, because we're fighting racism when we're interacting with Black women. And we want to have a respite, an oasis, a safe space, somewhere to retreat from that kind of mode of thinking. But when we encounter it in our bedrooms, in our houses, that's a hell of a thing to have to deal with, man. You know, because that's where at least culture and society teaches us that women are supposed to be creatures of comfort for us. They're supposed to help us, aid us in our struggle in the world, and to help us reproduce and to build a legacy. That's what men are desirous of. But while we interact with these women who have these ideals and who've been put in these, you know, these strange positions based upon the society in which we live, we're not able to accomplish our goals and to function as men. So we're encountering racism in our own bedrooms, man, and it's a difficult thing to have to deal with.
They want us to do that for them. Basically, they want us to, you know, like Dr. Johnson. Shout out to Dr. Johnson, Dr. Truth with the ConcuSurf, right? They want we have to do the emotional labor. We have to make them feel good about themselves. We have to elevate them. We have to tell them that they're queens. We have to kiss their feet. We have to be the concubine and help produce children. We're the one that have to make the nest. That all that kind of stuff. In fact, they're acting in reverse order to nature. They want us to do what other women do for their men.
Man, I told them, just like Dr. Johnson just said, man. Hasan just said it, bro. And Kevin Samuels just said it. Black men just want Black women to be nice, to honor us. Like, just think about what the women in the South did for the men who lost the Civil War. They started erecting statues all over the damn South. Okay?
It's basic.
In order to prop up their egos. Men work best when they're honored and respected. Okay? That's how we work. We're not going to respect you if you're trying to clash with us like you're a dude. You're going to act like a dude, you're going to get treated like a dude. But right now, they all up in their dude energy. They got, I mean, it's like they, man, about to drop the testicles any day now.
Look.
I'm going to keep it 100, man. Like, I can sugar. I've been talking like this for a while, though. But I first came into contact with Dr. Ronald Neal and Hasan Johnson through Tommy Curry. And, and I'm defending myself online against charges that there's some such thing as Black male privilege. And it's like confusing to hear this stuff. And your natural reaction is to resist against it. But, the academy is so weird that it'll try to make you think that your natural impulses and your natural inclinations are absolutely wrong because there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right.
But everything in my experience, man, leads me to know, look, women aren't perfect little angels, and neither are men. But men don't pretend to be perfect little angels.
We can't.
These people are pretending to be more civilized versions of they are the new Black men.
Yeah.
And they've already postulated that they are, because they've said, unless they're free, nobody's free. So they've already put themselves at the apex of the justice struggle.
What do the third wave feminists say about the relationship with Black men? They're the protectors. They're the one out in the streets protecting Black men from death and racism. That's what they say. That's what BLM says all the time, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are doing the protecting and providing. Black men are cowering behind their skirts.
With Cadillac commercials and campaigns, like with Twitter hashtags that say and twerking in front of the police. Man, turn it off, bro. I'm done, bro.
Black male blood is lucrative for everyone. Black men.
You can't twerk your way to freedom. Sorry.
And just think about this. So Kevin is just he's saying we just want basic dignity, basic. I mean, it doesn't require any effort, really. When you think about it, respect or what have you, acknowledgement that we're human. Basically, acknowledge that we are human beings. That's the fundamental.
Yeah,
and it is so hard. It is so difficult for her to even see that we are just base human. Just to say that we human beings, that we have intrinsic value, it fucking kills her to even acknowledge that.
You can see her struggling with it. But I do want to extend this to brothers, especially younger brothers as well. Be clear about it when it comes to a relationship. Men process and interpret love through respect. Be clear. So when we talk about women that are raised and socialized to not respect us, if anything, to have a low boiling contempt for us, that lack of respect does not allow us to process love because we're not experiencing it on terms that men process love. When you experience respect, even if it comes from another group of women, you put a choice on the table for men that really, after a while, becomes an imperative. You either experience love from women that extend respect to you, or you continue to try and interpret love through hostility and disdain. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I just want to put that on the table. But I do want us to continue, because part of what we're seeing with her and others is the same disdain that we are just now starting to recognize as misandry. We're just now starting to recognize as contempt in the last number of years. But in the Black community, this is fairly normal. So when you call this out, most women look at you like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. But can they really experience love other than like a Klingon female? I don't know.
All right, here we go.
That's it. Just be nice to us. And they can't get that en masse on a regular basis. I don't know if you ladies really understand how bad it is.
Yeah.
But then when you see a Black girl get hit in the face with a skateboard, you want Black men to check him because he shouldn't have hit her. There should be no violence. But then you ask yourself a question: why does this Black man feel so detached from this Black woman? Because they can feel it. And y'all won't be honest. And it takes me asking questions this way and that way. And before I can even kind of nail the jello on the wall, and it's still,
Let me say this.
Do you want
that was so profound. And I know that you guys saw that video of that young Black guy who had the skateboard. And he hit that young Black woman, female, girl, with that skateboard.
Yeah.
The detachment.
Yeah.
That was a profound observation.
Oh, just recently with the shooting in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
With the girl that got shot because she's getting ready to stab another Black girl. Right before that, it was a Black male kicking a woman was on the ground, a girl was on the ground. He said another Black male kicking her in the head. Okay.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. Even before that. Yeah.
So you have generations who are coming up now, okay, who don't have this connection. Okay. You got young Black men who are like, you are an alien. You come from a different planet. We don't have any connection. We're not trying to reconcile with you or what have you. We have no sympathy towards you, because we've grown up in a world where there is no sympathy towards us. There are no in BGS. I think you did a video on this over a year ago. There are no gender distinctions now.
No.
You have erased the lines right now between male and female. And this is the world that we live in. And the rhetoric, the feminist rhetoric, the womanist rhetoric, whatever you want to call it, has contributed to all of this, where you have these people who are completely desensitized to anything that's happened to Black men and women in history. Hell, he ain't gonna see you as a woman. You just a stranger. That's all of it. Okay, and so this is the inevitable consequence of all this. This is where this thing is going right now. You understand? If you don't have, here's the thing, if you don't have any checks and balances, not from the male side, but from the woman's side, if these women do not check this stuff, it's going to hurt them in the long run. It's going to be very detrimental to them. I hate to say that, but that's the consequence of what all this stuff leads to. Okay, because you're going to have these Black men who are not here. You are not. All of us are here, man. We're over the age of 45 talking about this stuff because we come from a culture where we cared, where we gave a damn. Okay, and many of us, hell, I still give a damn because I care about where Black people are going. Okay, and the thing is that if these women continue to have this callous attitude, because white people ain't gonna save their asses. That's just the reality of them. Ain't nobody else gonna save them, and if they don't self-correct, we done. Period. And Kevin Samuels, and I appreciate Kevin trying to save them. Kevin trying to save them from themselves. Okay.
Well, when we get to the end of this interview, I want to revisit that question. But let's continue.
Black men to do this when it comes to talking about our obligation to you? Do you want modifiers from us when it comes to you?
No.
Well,
You ask some tough questions.
Because it needs to be asked, because I should not have to ask the motherfucking questions. Becky ain't got to ask, Brad ain't got to ask it of Becky.
Facts.
Lee doesn't have to ask it of Maylene.
Facts.
Enrique doesn't have to ask it of Marisol.
Facts.
Anu doesn't have to ask it of pick a Middle Eastern name.
Facts.
But Keith has to ask it of Keisha.
Definitely facts.
Somebody got to ask it. I'll take the smoke. Thank you for at least trying to be honest, man. But this is where the fuck we are.
Yeah.
That's why I got upset and said no. When you go into the same old trope of Black women do this because of we're mourning for our brothers. And I'm like, whoa, I know more Black men who say, I ain't got to worry about the white man. I got to worry about this woman laying next to me.
Uh-oh.
This is my oppressor. This is my abuser. This is the one that calls CPS and child support and the white man on me when I ain't doing what the hell she think I should be doing. This is what brings the white man into my house.
Oh, God.
I told you. I tried to told you.
Ask your brothers.
She knows. She's a therapist.
Yeah.
She hears it every day.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Have any of you ever seen Kevin like that?
Nope.
This stuff is wearing on his soul. Man.
It is. It will.
So he put this up on the screen, but
it's too real. It's too real, man. That hits you in the face, bro.
He took his face off the screen. He had to take his face off the screen.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people wrote him talking about how they were shedding tears, men and women, watching that interview?
Yeah, that's to save the walls because you didn't want to punch a hole through the wall.
Now this clip is very short, so I'm going to get through this, and it's going to be the piece we need to finish this. It's very short. This is the last interview of the show, and I'm only going to play the last minute of it.
To walk around and say you don't get to walk around and say have a special victim status.
I'm not saying we should have a special victim status, but our circumstance is different. We are women. We are less
you're 24 years old. Is your circumstance harder or easier than your grandmother and your great grandmother?
Exponentially easier. We have access to information we didn't have.
Exponentially easier, but you're handling it worse. Your grandmother, your great grandmother actually could work with a black man with more trauma.
Because they understood that the black woman and the black man are on the same side. Now that we're all free and independent and we could do whatever we want to, why would we seek to, be one with the black man? We even think that being...
Thank you. Clip it, slice it, put it on World Star. She said it, not me. Now that you're independent, you don't need to be with. There you go. There you go. And there you go. And there you go. There you go, black man. There.
All I can say, I'm a age her youthfulness facilitated everything that she said.
Mm-hmm.
A 30-year-old black woman would not have made that declaration like that.
That slip. Yeah.
Right.
A 45-year-old or 40-year-old black woman would not have slipped like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was completely. It was age. She didn't see it coming. It just came out. She didn't understand the consequences of what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't think about it. It was unreflective. It just came out of her consciousness, and she just completely exposed everything.
Yeah, that's one got through the hockey goalie's knee pads. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, she turned around, see the red. She's turned the red light. Oh, somebody scored. She said, oh. Then she tried to cover it up.
But this is what, I've been talking about this, man. Like, we live in an advanced Western civilization, okay? Just recently coming out of the throes of segregation, okay? And so, women all over, this is that feminist ideology that we don't need you. And for the most part, in relation to material accumulation and public safety, to some extent, they don't. This is like one of the safest places to be in the world. Even though we argue that it's like one of the most violent places. I mean, for them, at least. I mean, women have never lived with this kind of freedom ever in history. Okay. And neither men, to be quite honest. I mean, but, it comes with an expense or a cost. There's no unity amongst people. There's no spaces where we come together and we exist in communion with one another. It's a dog-eat-dog world, man. Everybody behaving like monads, like lizards that, hatch from eggs and they have no social connection to other reptiles or something like that. It's just like we're every man for his damn self and woman also for their damn self. And we use each other like instruments to get what we want. And I think that another thing, when you hear Kevin Samuels day after day after day, I don't really watch the show that much because, I feel like, the contemporary condition between men and women is not one of interdependence, but one of irritants. So, but we used to be mutually interdependent and perceived ourselves as different cosmic beings traversing this world together who can complement each other. Now it's just competition for jobs and resources. It's identity politics and interest group politics. And, you got these people who affiliate themselves together based upon ideas and not reality. Like, I got sisters, man. I got cousins. I have daughters. They should have more in common with me than just an average woman. I know they share something in relation to being a woman together, but, at the end of the day, you ain't going to call half of these women if you need some school supplies or your girlfriends or whatever. You're going to call your daddy. If you get into a jam and you need your tire fixed or you need some mechanical work on your car, you're going to call your daddy. You ain't going to call your girlfriends. Okay, and you're going to call them for certain things because they understand the world in a way that, that they understand things that you don't. But, I mean, at the end of the day, man, the relationships that we have in the context of American culture, man, are weird. They're strange. Okay? And, it's all about conspicuous consumption, material appropriation. but the most important things in life are relationships. At the end of the day, man, that's what's lacking between us. The understanding that, it's cool to have somebody to be around that you can share your experiences with. And right now, man, it's just all about who's the boss, who's in control, who's going to dictate the action, who's going to, have the ability to dictate what the terms of, choices are. And it's tiring, man. This whole thing, and then being subjected to these white folks, man. Again and again and again. That's the thing I think that killed Kevin with the first one. With the last one, man, independence. Look, that's a myth, because even though you consider yourself to be independent, man, this whole thing, like, people don't understand how fragile, these civilizations are right now, man. Like, anything goes wrong in one part of the world, man, it can throw everything else off balance.
And what I said on my Facebook page in response to this, man, this is just all social engineering, man. Mm-hmm. This is social engineering. She grew up in this world of propaganda and ideas. She has absolutely no clue as to what made it possible for her to even talk like that. You know what I'm saying?
3 generations of it.
Generations of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there is this, the arrogance that these women are fundamentally self-made, that somehow or another that they just pull themselves up by the bootstraps and they just have this autonomy and agency, that they're just completely, detached from social systems and all that kind of stuff and manipulation, everything. It is completely absurd. It is completely absurd. And this is where we are. You're absolutely right. We have, in this advanced Western society, created this monster, okay? And it's only going to take, and Kevin's been saying this, but it's not just Kevin, but the pandemic, a major social catastrophe, when everything falls apart, that you have these women, in particular, who will come to the realization that they cannot stand on their own 2 feet, that they are the products of history, a particular moment in human history that they have benefited from, and they have absolutely no inkling, no understanding of everything that went into making the world the way it is right now.
And that's one of the things that I think we definitely have to add to this discussion, because many of us have been talking about it for the last year. One of the things we've seen is the pandemic shaking the foundations of that kind of unquestionable faith that many of them have had in the system, that's allowed them to seemingly stand independent from everything. The last year shook the foundations of that and scared the crap out of a lot of different people. But fundamental to this has been the question, will that change behavior? That's going to be one of the central questions moving onward. Is it enough to change behavior, or is that institutionally sanctioned entitlement too deeply set?
Do you have enough time for the change, for the behavior to actually change? When human beings don't work that fast, as far as culture is concerned, it takes a while. So they can change the behavior a little bit and modify it, but the deep-seated beliefs, the worldview, that's going to take a while. It took 3 generations to get here.
No, because the thing is, here's the deal. This is how absurd this is. Mm-hmm. Dude, she could be in a homeless shelter, having lost her job and not having anything. It still have an entitled mentality.
Yes,
yes,
that's what I was about to say.
And still believe that she is on the top, or she's supposed to be on top. That's how deep the ideology is.
Y'all look up how many people are posting videos on YouTube of living out of their damn car. I mean, sisters are delivering groceries in the same BMWs and Benzes that they used to. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But okay, so we're gonna change gears. I am gonna let about 5 people come up, but I want you to be brief. You're not giving lectures. I want you to be, if you have a question for anyone on the panel or an observation in relation to the video or something that was said, I'll give you an opportunity to come on up, be brief, be concise, and make sure your points are prepared. Because we're not going to go too much longer, but I did want to give people a chance to connect, because these brothers have been dropping bombs all night. So I'm going to put the link in the chat, and let's see if I can do that on Facebook as well. Yes, I can. So I'll put it in both. And really, the first 5 to come up, I'm going to give you a chance to come on up in here. Appreciate that support, Man Friday. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me take this video down. There we go. And all right. Okay. How do I pronounce your name, brother?
That's Kasak Ma Keperu.
All right, Kasan, how you doing?
I'm good. I just want to present a different perspective on this because I'm not what you would call part of the Hotep community, but I do study Kemetic spirituality. So when we're looking at there, first and foremost, I want you to understand that there's a serious morality problem when it comes to Black women. They lack morality. I've worked in corporate America. I worked as a project manager. And I've seen the things that they do, specifically against Black men, undermining their promotion, especially in HR. And they do it without any sense of right or wrong. They don't care. And it's the type of attitude where, well, I'll burn the whole thing down just to get back at you. Or I don't like you being a manager, so I'm not going to respect you or do anything. And even going as far as filing fraudulent sexual harassment charges. Okay. So I've seen this repeatedly. And what I've also seen repeatedly is the white management protect these Black women and stand in their side for whatever reason, while these young Black men, whether they be in manager positions or are striving to get up in corporate America, are getting thwarted by these Black women who are vicious. Now, I'm not saying that's an intrinsic trait of them, but I'm saying it's something that's come about through social engineering. And I want to touch on the idea of social engineering from a metaphysical perspective. We know that there are think tank institutions like Rockefeller Foundation, Tavistock Council on Foreign Relations. They put out findings and studies on how culture will evolve in the next 50 to 100 years. What we're seeing, and I'm proposing to you, because this is what I firmly believe, in Black women is what we call the 100 monkey principle, or the pendulum, or an ergobore, where you have an idea that reaches a tipping point and it spreads through the culture, it spreads through the race, and it becomes the de facto type of personality trait that is taken on. This is where culture comes from. I don't believe that this trait that we're seeing in Black women has come about organically. I'm saying there's something behind this. And if you look at, and you do the studies into the 100 monkey principle, especially with the Japanese mesquite monkey, what they found out is that on this island, these monkeys had learned to clean these nuts and eat them. Where on another island, adjacent island, that was nowhere near in contact with that island with the monkeys, the other monkeys were cleaning the nuts the very same way. So they had this theory that they postulated that there is this type of psychic connection or this collective consciousness where, for survival purposes, or when things reach a tipping point, it collectively spreads through the race, gender, and whatnot. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Any responses?
Well, the thing is that this, I actually shared this with you, but this came from the it came from the American Slave Coast, but it's actually a Virginia law, right? From 1730, 1740. Partus sequitur ventrum, right? The legal term, the status of the newborn follows the status of the womb. Fathers pass down inheritance, mothers pass down slavery. It ensured a steady flow of salable human product from the wombs of women who had no legal right to say no. This is where the matriarchy actually came from. It's actually bound in law, and basically after Thomas Jefferson, after 1808, actually made this de facto matriarchy by forcing Black women to produce children and being the head over the family. This is not new. Didn't just come up organically. This is actually bound in law. This was forced upon us, and it's been the law. It's been the law of the land since. That's what we're experiencing. This ain't new. This is a created matriarchy. Okay.
I agree completely with BGS. Here's the thing. I was talking to a mentor of mine earlier today, beloved man, Black man in religion. And we talked about slavery and colonization. And going back to the 16th century, And we have to really look at this in terms of Black people in the so-called New World, man, and look at the extent to which that these colonial imperial powers basically made us, and they made us into a certain type of thing, man. You know, and that's social engineering, bro. You know what I'm saying? And all of it through the transatlantic slave trade and all the laws here. I mean, so, you know, what happened in Brazil, they had their own thing. What happened in the Caribbean, you know, was particular to the Caribbean and everything like that, and other parts of the world where you had Africans dispersed. And we are still living with the consequences of all of this. We have not escaped it. And the myth and the fallacy is that somehow or another, you have a population of people, i.e. Black women, who are outside of it, that somehow they have not been subjected to it. They're a part of it. They're not a part of it, you know. And what we're doing right now is bringing, you know, light to the consequence, this history. Yes, we are still bound by all of this. Social engineering is real, man. This shit is insidious, it is pervasive, and it's damn near inescapable.
Okay, we got.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
You want to say something?
No, the only thing I want to say is, you know, when I think about how Black people act in America, you know, I make reference to Black Skin, White Mask by Frantz Fanon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got black skin, but we harbor the entire culture of white folks, but in a weird and a very twisted way. And you know, go ahead though. Yeah, let your other brother come on.
Okay. So we have Mel.
How you doing? How you doing, fellas?
We're doing good. How about yourself?
I'm fine, man. Definitely. Yeah. My main concern with the part is with when Kevin was talking with that young girl, and it's so sad. I'm seeing girls that haven't even made it past at least their first 5 years in their 20s, and they talking like women that's in their 40s, and even thinking they know more than people that's in their 50s. It's like they got so indoctrinated by the speaking points of a lot of the previous generation before them so hard. It's like now it's like you're in the prime of your years, like that you could actually get a highest valuable man, you know, build a family that way, and you just cashed out of the game that hard. Like, you know, out of the dating scene that hard. Like, and the speaking points of what you're speaking, I was like, it just breaks my heart. Like, damn, like how can we try to save more young girls like her? Because, you know, I'm starting to see young girls trying to break out of the cycle of what the previous generation have tasted them, though. But you got girls like her and everything that's, you know, try to suck them back. Like, damn, like, y'all like technically in the same boat, but y'all acting like y'all been through some hard experience. Like, yeah, like,
okay,
definitely. That's why I wanted to point it out. Definitely like that. That's my main concern. Definitely. You know,
all right. Appreciate your thoughts, man.
Definitely. Thank you, fellas.
All right,
make sure when you guys come in that you turn down your background so it doesn't have any background noise. I'm sorry, somebody's about to say something. Okay, all right.
I would just say I'm sorry, man. I mean, this thing, when I saw those videos with Kevin, man, it set me off, man. And she did sound, it was very scripted. It was, there's a blueprint. There was a blueprint.
Okay. Yeah.
That is being handed down.
You know, I saw Nagone in the comments earlier. There was a conversation. I want to say it was Nagone and Obsidian. And this might have been a couple of years ago now. And they were, as two conservative Black men, talking about what they defined as the slow walk away from Black women. And I had never quite heard it put that way. And when I kept listening, one of the things they talked about was how difficult it was for them to reach a point where they were done. And so they're conservative. They weren't coming out of a nationalist camp. It wasn't anything like that. And even they were talking about how difficult it was. I think they referred to it as the slow walk with a tear coming down your face kind of thing. And it was very reminiscent of that last image of Kevin. You know, but it was a slow kind of acceptance that despite what you may want, the reality of, you know, because again, you're talking about encountering the same, as you define it, Dr. Neal, scripted, the same script that, you know, from woman after woman after woman after woman. And how then do you begin to navigate that when you've seen it so often, right? I don't know, I'm gonna bring brother.
And Nagom is a boomer, right? I mean, Nagom is he's a seasoned man, he's an older man.
Yeah.
And I've heard those conversations between he and Obsidian and everything. And is he in the comments now? I don't know. I haven't seen him.
Yeah, he's a grandfather. He's a grandfather. So yes, he is.
Okay. So I've heard Nagom talk. You know what I'm saying? And he's a very traveled black man and all that. But yeah, it's real.
Yeah. Well, we got a Johnny up here. What's up, man? Hello?
Johnny. Can
Johnny
you hear
Blue?
us? Unmute. You're muted.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Johnny.
There he is.
Okay.
Oh, here's Johnny.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Appreciate you, brothers. Thank you for this broadcast. Yeah, you're good. What's up, gentlemen?
Go ahead. What's
it's a
on your
great
mind?
panel tonight. I was on that live with Kevin when he was doing this original broadcast, and I thought the last caller, I thought it was beautifully honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we've been feeling. It's definitely what I've been feeling from sisters for a long time. It felt great to actually see someone saying it so straightforward. I was like, yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. And so now that it's out there and so many of us can see it, now we can navigate it. That's what the task is at hand. And that's what's out there for me. It's the plain truth of it. It's the raw truth of it. It's not comfortable. It is what it is. And now we just have to navigate it because it's not going to change. It's not going to improve. Okay. We're not coming back from that position. I hope we don't think that. That's what's happening. That's only going to get worse. It's going to become more pervasive because these women bully one another. If you haven't observed that, they bully one another into position. And who do you know who concedes power? Who gives that up willingly?
Okay.
They don't. I don't know a group of people who does.
Okay.
That's just want to offer for contemplation. Thank you for the panel. I love the broadcast, brothers. Thank you.
Appreciate the contribution. Thank you, man.
I think
responses. Go ahead.
Yeah, my viewpoint on it is, like Frederick Douglass said a long time ago, power concedes nothing without a demand. But my viewpoint on this is as follows, man. You're never going to change the individual ideas and comportment of women. My argument has been from the beginning, man, we got to change these policies and these institutions.
Right.
So that, when they do fly off the handle or they do get upset and they do try to pull the white man is going to come protect us. Because let's be honest. To me, when I hear protect black women, I hear, I need the police to come in and get this N-word. That's what I hear. Okay. I don't hear a beckoning and calling on behalf of black women to repatriate and reconnect with black men such that they can be honored and respected and we create reciprocity. That's not what I hear. I hear throw him in jail, get rid of him, exterminate him, get him from our presence. That's what I hear. Okay. When I hear protect black women. Okay. I'm just being honest. All right. So, but my goal is, I can't deal with these mind states on an interpersonal level. I can't change their minds through persuasion because they already got their minds made up. And even if they want to change, it's more difficult to change a habit individually than it is to change the objective conditions in which those habits form in the first place. So, but these people think that this world is going to continue in the same way that it is into perpetuity. It's a historical moment. Everything changes. And right now, the world is interconnected in a way it's never been before. Man, things can go real bad real quick. So don't disrespect the men too much because you might need our behind. Real talk.
Let let me say this, man. And I know I've been flying off the handle talking a lot during this time. I have to agree with Gigi. So the West is in decline, brother. The West. Okay. And so this moment is not going to last forever. Okay. So the thing is, from a broader perspective, you got China, you got Russia, you got North Korea. You have ascendant countries and powers who don't want to be like America. The Chinese have already declared that there are aspects of American society that they do not want to integrate. They do not want to exhibit in their world. Okay? And it has to do with the stuff that we're talking about right now. Which means that they're going to put themselves in the position to conquer and to dominate us, if they can do that. Okay? And that's the bigger global perspective that is there. So here's the thing. So this is just a moment in history. And civilizations, they rise, they fall. That's just history. That is human history, man. This is a window. And these women don't understand that they're a part of a historical moment, a window. They have not been tested. The rise of women. And here's the thing, and let me say this, I want to say this for the record. I believe in fairness. I believe in the equality and all that kind of stuff, and that women should be able to exercise their full capacities as human beings and all that kind of stuff. But it also comes with being challenged. It also comes with the contestations of other societies and other cultures and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that you have to deal with the shit that men have always dealt with for thousands upon thousands of years. And if you cannot stand up to what men have dealt with for thousands of years, you're going to be taken out. That's history. Period. Point blank.
Man, that's hey Ron, man, that's the cold hard facts, bro. Look, I was watching a dramatization of ancient Western culture, not ancient, but medieval Western culture, where you had the Danes, the Welsh, the Brits, the Franks. Man, these people went at each other, man. And look, women during that time, they weren't the ones who were able to grab a sword and to grab a shield and go out there and protect and fight. It was the men who actually went out there and did this. Like, and if the proverbial shit hits the fan, how many of them are gonna be out there with an M16 and a hard hat on, ready to get it in? I'm just being honest.
Dude. When I step outside of where I live and I look at when I look at surveyors, when I look at the people who are doing the sewers, when I do it, the people who do the grunt work of this society, and this is not just from what Kevin Samuels has been saying, but it's just real. The infrastructure of this society, women ain't doing the infrastructure. Okay, when it comes down to the military, when it comes down to manufacturing guns and weapons and all that kind of stuff that you're going to need to protect yourself against foreign invaders, that's not what women are doing. Okay, women have a very comfortable position in American society, in Western society writ at large. Okay, and here's the thing: you want to put yourself out there as being more competent than men, so be it. You got to deal with the smoke that come with it.
Now, hold on. We got two more people, y'all. We got two more people. We're gonna bring in Ian, brother Ian. I need you to be concise, good brother. what are your thoughts?
Okay. Hey, good brothers. Good to hear you. Good. It's a pleasure to be up here. I love you guys. You know what I'm saying? You're doing the yeoman's work. You're doing God's work. But my thing is, so I really can't add nothing to what y'all are saying. So I just want to take it left, right? Now, we have this ADOS movement, and I'm saying, I just want to make it plain. I agree with reparations and everything, but Tone Talks just did a show about Don't They Right. The female called in the show saying that basically Black men were running to Minnesota, right, to be with white women. and they basically signed their own death certificate, chasing after white women. So she didn't even have any kind of remorse or any kind of, feelings of pain and loss. She just wanted to say, okay, you black men stop chasing them white women and you'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Because his mother and father are is a white woman and a black man. So, she just had to throw that in, you know what I'm saying, and take his whole show left.
Yeah, but his baby's mother was black.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the sentiment. The runaway slave. They don't belong to us, but we belong to them.
Oh.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate it, man. Right. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, all right, brother. Stay well.
All right. Okay. See you.
All right. And the last one up, y'all may know this cat. I don't know who he is really, though. But,
wow. Here you go, man. Hey, man, how many times do you change your mind?
Wait, we got to tell him, keep it short.
Yeah, BGS. That's like the African called Jamaican black on that one.
I know it is. Yep.
But we do need to we do need to be a little more concise. This is our
yes. It feels good to be around colleagues. I have
I was a child. But give us your thoughts about this, man.
Yes, it's not Dr. Ronnie Neal. You know what? I'm such a big fan.
What's up, brother? I know how you sound, brother.
Woo. You gotta say it like the black cook. Is that Ronnie?
All right, now. So what you thinking about?
When they made the statement of we're trying to protect black men, that instantly a flashback went in my mind. How many times 2 o'clock in the morning, a chick wanted a guy to her house and would yell and scream, and I'm like, you would have these BLM supporters come right up in my face. You need to stop calling black men. Well, you need to start calling the police. And they would just walk away from me because they didn't expect that answer. What you fellas are doing is like, it's not even God's work, because even God's like, you know what, I'm impressed. I'm taking off for the day. And it's sad because you give them legitimate textbook, academic, factual evidence. It's so tangible that you can see it. And still, the cognitive dissonance is strong with them. Well, we're trying to defend. I don't need defending. I spent 22 years defending everybody else. So what's the excuse now?
Yeah.
Just say you don't like us and we'll be fine with it. It's not like any other woman wouldn't take us.
Yeah. The fact is, I'm sure you know this, Officer Charles. Black women kill more black men than the cops do.
Let me put it to you this way. Lately in statistics, it's been more dangerous for black men to even associate with black women. Because most of the deaths, if you realize, is either protecting them or being outright assaulted by them. I've said. And when we actually get to these studies, and thank God for you brothers with the PhDs, like myself, my PhD is in Negronomics, but it's sad because you'll get these people who you put up a numerous amount of evidence and they'll still try to debunk it with feelings at that. Oh man. Let me get out of here because I can speak on this forever.
I'm sure there's a stream coming later on tonight.
A holy gospel rant. Holy gospel. It's gonna come from Lord Shango himself.
Oh damn! I want to thank everybody up here for coming through tonight. I appreciate it. The conversation was good. So thank you, brothers. I'm gonna put a couple things on the screen. There's a couple of people who requested that I put up some quotes, and I tried to do it in the comment section, but it wouldn't allow me to. So bear with me for a moment. I'm trying to see how okay, I might have to take you guys down in order to do it, but I'm about to close out in the next few minutes anyway. So I appreciate you brothers for coming through. Y'all support Green Gorilla, the G with the PhD. Make sure you go to his channel on YouTube. Go to Dr. Ronald Neal. Check the brother out. Most particularly, I think it was his very last video that he mentioned earlier. What was the title of it, brother?
She hates black men.
She hates black men. Y'all make sure you check it out. And of
But
course,
hold on, wait. Before you start, I want to say this. Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, this stream, this is a classic stream. I want to put this on record. The conversation that we have had for the last 3 hours is historic. It is unprecedented, and it will be impactful. I cannot leave without saying this. I appreciate you for inviting all of us, GG, BGS, and all the brothers for being a part of this conversation, because what we've talked about over the last 3 hours is stuff that has been fundamentally taboo in terms of Black culture. I don't think that there's any video, anything on YouTube, social media that captures the conundrums, the problems, the challenges of Black men that this stream does. We have gone, we have talked, we have ventured in a place that has been untouched in terms of the Black male situation in the United States. I have to say that. I am, for the past 3 hours, we have dealt with delicate, sensitive issues. And I want to give a shout out to you. I want to give you your props, your love. I love you, brother. Likewise. We love you.
Likewise.
We appreciate everything, no, seriously, everything that you do. We take risks. We risk our careers. We risk our professions. We risk everything by having these conversations in this space, in social media. There are few Black men, particularly, I'm saying this, with PhDs who are at this level, who do this kind of work. There are a few Black men who are able to put their faces on the line, their reputations on the line in doing this work. And I'm going to say this. I want every brother hearing this. I love Dr. T. Hasan Johnson.
There you go.
I love him.
I love you too, brother.
He is my brother. No. I'm serious. He is my brother. He is committed. He's taking risks that people do not appreciate. And I appreciate everything that he has done. This is not to be taken for granted. I love him. And you brothers who are listening, you contribute, you support the Institute for Black Masculine Studies, support his work, everything that he is doing. This is the only place where we can have these type of critical conversations about the existence of Black men. The only place. It's not going to happen in academia. It's not going to happen in social media, and it's not going to happen in mainstream media, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, anything. It's not going to happen anywhere else. I'm serious. And I put my name on the line. PhD at Wake Forest University. I am. Y'all know, all you gotta do is Google me. Google Dr. Ronald B. Neal. You can find who I am.
There you go.
I'm the motherfucking shit, okay? I'm gonna tell you motherfuckers, I'm the goddamn shit.
Shout out to
I'm
Dr.
solidified. I'm certified. And I roll with Hasan Johnson until the wheels fall off.
I heard that.
There you go, boy.
I want y'all to know that. I roll with Hasan Johnson till the wheels fucking fall off. I am committed to this shit.
Much appreciation, brother. Thank you.
I love this man. And I love what this man is doing. And I want you to know that I appreciate it. And I appreciate Gigi, and I appreciate BGS, and all the brothers who support what we are doing.
That's right.
Black male independence, black male agency, black male independence, black male empowerment until we motherfucking die.
like Black Mind says, until extinction or judgment day.
Much appreciation, brother. Much appreciation. I'm gonna take you down, and we're gonna go to GG and then BGS. But thanks a lot, brother.
Hey man, all I can say is, man, much love to y'all, man. I appreciate you. You know, all I want to do is come here and have these good conversations, man, and let people know what we think and what we feel. And you know, we might have these titles, but we go through the same stuff everybody else goes through, man, in this culture, in this society, being black, especially being black men. So.
That's right.
You know, sometimes we might sound pompous or arrogant or whatever the case may be, but we really just have a strong desire, man, to ameliorate the condition of black men and boys, man.
Hey, man, man. Tell people when your next show is and what they can expect. What's the subject?
Tomorrow I'll be, you know, I got a premiere video, man. My OBS is not acting right, so I've been retreating from doing live shows, but I'll be back as soon as I can figure out what the hell's going on. But I'm doing a premiere tomorrow. We're going over the condition of black people in the ghetto from the angle of a black philosopher by the name of Tommy Shelby. So I think his book covers everything. So I'm going to go through chapter by chapter. It might not get a lot of views or ratings, but I think if, you know, black men in this space are going to be talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and single moms and all of this kind of stuff, they need to do so from a sophisticated perspective. So
but the thing is, some things like when I did the Monahan report, I didn't initially get a lot of views, but the thing is, it was a landmark, you know, to plant the seed where people can actually go back and reference. And so many people have even with even Kevin recently when he was on Joe Budden, he actually referenced Monahan's scissors and the Monahan report. So the thing is, even if you don't get views, okay, you're going to have to put things out there like that as a record so people can actually access it.
Exactly. And so that's all, you know, we're here to be compendiums, man. We're here to be like encyclopedias. So you know,
well, y'all make sure you go to the Green Gorilla channel and check that out tomorrow. What time?
5:15.
Is that that's
3:15 Western? Yeah, Pacific
Standard Time, man. You know, you'll see it world premiere, man. World premiere.
Right. That's what's up. Thanks a lot, brother. All right, peace. BGS, any closing thoughts?
Oh yeah, it's basically this is a heavy night, man, and it's in some ways you're happy because women actually say it out loud. It's something I've been, I was doing on my women's channel for the longest, having black women actually tell the truth. And the thing is, I'm glad that Kevin's doing the same thing with broader exposure. So this conversation can get started, because all we want for one black woman nowadays is, tell us the truth. Let's be honest about it. We know what you're doing. Everybody can see what you're doing. The thing is, you're still trying to make it seem that you're not doing what not doing what's obvious.
Right. All right. Well, much appreciation. Where do you want people to check out your current work, and what's the next video they can expect?
The next video is going to be talking about the video, the last portion of the video that you played when she said that black women don't have to work with black men.
Okay.
I haven't finished it yet, but that's what it's going to be on my Black Pill Gnostic channel. But the thing is, you can always check me out on Twitter. You can always check my community tab for that little bitty channel. So basically, it's going to be, that's where all my rants and rambles are going to be from now on.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming through tonight, man. As usual.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. Like I said, there was a couple of people in the comments that asked me if I would post some of the links, some of the quotes actually. And so I want to put that up. You can screenshot it. I'm not going to read through it. I'm not going to ask you to read through it. What I want you to do, since I'm just putting it up, go ahead and screenshot it. And that way you can read through it at your leisure a little bit later. This is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, where he talks about the Black matriarchy. So you can go ahead and screenshot that, and you can reference it and go through it yourself. This is from his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community, right? And the next one is from Frances Cress-Welsing, Dr. Frances Cress-Welsing. And here she's talking about the control of Black men. So you can go ahead and screenshot that and go through it at your perusal. This is from her writing, Black Women Moving Towards the 21st Century, page 285. So just so you had those available to you. You can go ahead and research those for yourself. As for, let me see, me, I want to thank you guys for coming through tonight and supporting the show. As usual, I think we're at a place where these conversations are important, and most particularly Black men are at a place where we are reflecting on what it means to be Black men at this current point, and what that actually means in regard to our relationship. So, appreciate y'all as far as that. Make sure, here we go. Make sure you support the Institute for Black Male Studies. And from there, I'm not going to have an after hours tonight. So I appreciate y'all's support, but I will kind of at least go to our closing. Y'all know how we do, right? Hold on. Actually, let me get it right here. All right. So, brothers, be reminded that we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects, man children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, brainless henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, warriors, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. Please reflect on that last part, because too many of us don't. You define your worth. Peace.